Give me a couple of minutes and my eyes should adjust to being inside. I was just outside. And normally I would just keep my Oakleys on, but I don't want to be mistaken for Dr. Disrespect. So I just need a couple of more minutes for my eyes to adjust. I have really sensitive eyes. And I don't want to sit here in this. Actually, I might actually sit here in this for a second while my eyes adjust, because this might actually help my eyes adjust a little faster. And then I can gradually bring the light up. Now I got to put that back up. So was at the doctor yesterday, and if you've never had a nerve conduction test, let me tell you how not fun those are. It's my second nerve conduction test, and they put all these leads and these sensors on you, and then they basically electrocute you, and they monitor how long it takes the signal to get to each like sensor. That sucks. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. But damn, that's bright. I got that done. So that's the last bit of testing I need to do. They're trying to figure out now what to do with the results. That's better. I can live with that. I flew in this morning. Not flew in. I don't have wings. I flew in. I had an appointment. Yeah, we're gonna turn you into a live wire here for a bit. Don't worry, it sucks for everyone. And then what's even worse, man, what's even worse to the follow-up of that is after that part, they then stick a Teflon-coated needle into your muscle groups. And then while you have a needle in your muscle group, you have to exert effort against the muscle, because the neurologist has to hear what he's hearing. Like, he has to hear it, and then after they hear it, they have it all recorded, and then he writes the report. And I'm just like, I could live without this never happening to me again. With that said, I am tired of us having to listen to everybody. I am tired of this idea that we have to respect all points of view. A long time ago in a land far away, I was a young man and I didn't like some things that were going on, and I tried to speak out against them, and I tried to actually work against things people were doing. And my father told me, you just have to suffer fools. You just have to suffer them, because they're always going to be present. And I never liked that. To me, that always seemed like a cop-out. In my entire life, that was always something that my father and I disagreed on. My father and I disagreed on suffering fools. It wasn't until I met a lieutenant colonel who was my commander, who literally wrote on one of my midterm or my initial feedback, one of his standards. I was a lieutenant, he was a lieutenant colonel. One of his standards was don't suffer fools. And I loved that moment in my life, because in that moment, I knew I was going to have 2 years where I no longer had to put up with any of the stupid bullshit that people do, because all I had to say to the boss then is, that's foolish. And it was great. I loved it, because having to suffer fools is why we're in this situation in the first place. Don't make waves. Don't make waves, Jalan. Don't make waves. Don't rock the boat. If you rock the boat, you might fall in. Yeah, but the problem is all these dumbasses, they can't fucking swim anyway. I can swim. If I rock the boat, the worst thing that happens to me is I get wet. If I rock the boat and we all capsize, all these fucking dumbasses will drown. I'm gonna play the video. This was...
Hey, so the
that's
U.S.
not the video. I'm gonna play the video, my short. I do a short form piece of content every morning. Most of them are responses. And the reason why most of them are responses is because somebody's got to be Red Foreman, and somebody's got to be out there putting counterweight on to counter all the dumbasses, right? This is what she actually says this.
over 900 billionaires in the United States.
Yes, 902.
If you combine all their wealth, they hoard about $7 trillion, 7 trillion with a T.
Actually closer to 6.2 trillion, which I will admit is an absurd amount of money, but it varies day to day and stock price to stock price.
And if you were to divide that money among the 340 million Americans, everyone would get about $20,000.
So your plan is to take every penny away from the billionaires and divide it among 330 Americans. Let's see how this works. It's about 18,800 and you're going to have to pay tax on it. And billionaires don't sit on cash. They sit on stock. They have potential wealth. Oh shit. So now they have to sell off all of their shares of stock, and that is going to crush the market. And I've based the price assuming they all get full value, which they won't, but I don't want to make this too complicated. So now you're getting $14,000. And these individuals, they own companies that employ people. Or, I mean, they did, because you just took all of their stock and you've crippled all of the companies due to a stock mass sell-off. I mean, this was a fire sale. You crushed the market. Grandma's 401k is gone. Mom and dad's 401k is gone. Your 401k is gone. You've decimated the market for $14,000 a person. Directly, billionaires control firms like Walmart, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, and 8 million people were employed there. They're now on the unemployment line. Indirectly, suppliers, trucking, logistics, service chains. That was another 16 million jobs. You've eliminated 24 million jobs, and you've created an unemployment crisis larger than the Great Depression. Now, I'm not defending billionaires. Remember that line right there. I'm not defending billionaires. There are too many tax loopholes. Congress is covering for their billionaire friends. Elon Musk was able to buy Twitter for $44 billion. He never had to sell a single share of Tesla. He was able to leverage loans. If he had been forced to sell shares of Tesla, he would have had to sell between $58 and $70 billion worth to cover the taxes. This shows the problem. Billionaire wealth is on paper, not cash. So I literally say I'm not defending billionaires. Are you simping for billionaires? You literally missed the entire section where I said we need to close the loopholes. You want to crush the economy for 14K? I mean, that's a plan, but a bad one. What are my suggestions? I did, and we don't suffer billionaire simps. First of all, don't allow FDIC-insured organizations to offer loans against capital gains products. Meaning, do not allow federally backed accounts. Elon Musk can't get a loan from any bank if they have FDIC insurance. Because that way, if a bank, a financial institution, loans money to Elon Musk and then he can't pay it back, the government's not going to bail that bank out. Also, as I've said previously, if you are not an FDIC-insured bank, you will be levied with a requirement that each and every time people make a deposit into your bank in cash, when they come into the bank to make a deposit in cash, they're going to have to sign a statement that says, I understand you are not FDIC insured. And people will say to me, well, then the bank wouldn't ever want to do that because they don't want to collect that much paperwork. Correct. Now you're getting it, Sparky. Now you're fucking getting it. That's the problem. The other problem is we should not allow CEOs to take a stock package that isn't offered to Bob from accounting. So if Elon Musk can take 100% of his compensation in a stock option, then Bob from accounting can take 100% of his payroll in a stock option. And you have to offer the company would have to control and own enough shares of stock that if the whole company this week decides that everybody wants to take 100% stock options, then the company won't be able to do that. Because the company won't be able to capitalize itself if it constantly has to hold enough shares of stock that it can pay off all of its workers that way. Also, when you do that, what you're doing is you're forcibly transferring ownership from the company, the one guy on the top, to all of the workers. Intel's, the government bought a 9.9% stake in Intel for $20. I think it was $20.84, if I remember correctly. And Intel stock was trading at about 24. So if you give everybody a $4 haircut it's not a haircut, I'm sorry. If you give everybody a $4 reduction for their stock option, well, a lot of your employees are going to end up as owners, and what they're going to do is they're going to turn around and say, you know what? I think the compensation package is too bad. It is too much. It hurts the company too much. You can't just literally take away all the money from the billionaires. Number one, not their money is intangible. Number two, if your idea took longer to say it than it did to think it, then call them and give you. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. Billionaires, their money is tied up in stock. If you start fucking with them, they'll leave the country. Oh, well, the stock is against American companies. Then they'll move as much of their company out of America as they can. Period. We've tried this shit in the past. It doesn't work. Taxing the wealthy on unrealized gains doesn't work. It's a dumb idea. Now, I do want to say, I am not against the idea of the thought process of billionaires paying more of their fair share. But since I, as not a billionaire, don't want to give the government any more money because of how much they waste, why is it that nobody wants to talk about the most important point, and the fact that our entire government is a welfare state? Our states are welfare states. There is only a handful of states that legitimately give more to the federal government than they get. Right. Many companies offer stock purchase plans, but the problem is they don't offer it to 100% of your paycheck for example, say my wife was employed and we could live on my wife's income. We're a double income family, but we could live on one of the two incomes. Well, then I could take 100% of my paycheck every month as stock, and then in a year, as long as the stock isn't falling, I can sell that for the $4 difference per share and whatever profit it makes, and then I'd only be taxed at 15%. Like Elon Musk does. Elon Musk doesn't take a paycheck from Tesla. He gets a 20-some-odd billion dollar compensation package. Well, that's bullshit, because he's never going to have to pay tax on that. He'll never have to pay tax on that because he'll never be forced to sell it. If this continues long enough, hold on. You can't say, will NA go into a recession? Will the United States go into a recession? We're on the brink of a financial collapse. We are on the brink of a financial just fallout. So participation is such a low percentage, it doesn't make sense to offer it. I hear what you're saying, but you're from my generation. The workers don't understand because they don't have financial literacy. That's the other problem. People want to tell me, like, the number I'm working with, this guy. Do I have the guy's video? Did I download it already? I might have. People don't understand. They only listen to what TikTokers have told them. Hold on. They only know what the TikTokers have said to them, so they don't have any of their own original thoughts. They're repeating what other TikTokers have said. Oh my god, why the fuck do I have all these notifications? I don't care about any of this shit. Sorry, like I said, I couldn't do show prep today because I was flying right in from an appointment. I normally don't stream on Tuesdays, but I owed you guys a stream. Where's the guy with the "you're a dumbass"? Thought I had grabbed it. Guy says the reason why housing is so impossible to buy is then he gives all these facts. The problem is none of those facts are accurate, because what he's telling people is that back in 1960, yeah, here it is. What he's saying to people is back in 1968, you could buy a house with minimum wage, but you couldn't. Let's listen to what he says.
Some of you smooth brains are having trouble with the $66 an hour minimum wage. That is the amount it would take to give us the same purchasing power that boomers had when they joined the workforce. You people don't read or Google competently. Boomers could do that with one person working with the minimum wage. My generation, if you have kids and you want to buy a house, holy shit, you both have to be working full time. I swear to God, you guys are in.
So what he does is he goes on to say, what he's saying is, first of all, if you ever see a chart that maps median household income and median home price, and you see them do it as bell curves that look like this, that's absolutely incorrect. They don't look like that. The median household income and the median home price are not bell curves. But what he's talking about, and the chart looks something like this. It looks like this. And here is median household income, and it's about 70 some odd thousand. I don't have my notes right in front of me. It is 78,770. Now, if you take 78,770 and you times it by 3, 78,770 and you times that by 3, then what you get is you get 236,310. And where the disconnect is, because times 3 is your house buying potential. But the disconnect is that the median house price is fluctuating right around 416,000. So, first of all, that's where the disconnect is. Second of all, I don't know why you're saying somebody earning down here should be able to buy this. Third of all, if this is the median, then 50% of houses are cheaper than that. Because median is literally, we line up every single point of data. Smallest to largest. If there's a million pieces of data, then we go to 500,000 and 500,001. We take those two numbers, we average them numerically, and the average of those two numbers is the median. If the median is odd, if the number is odd, then you can go to the dead middle one. Why is it that people are listening to the discussion point of, yeah, unemployment was 8.5% in the 70s and 10.8% in the early 80s. But, grumpy old man, remember, back in the 70s and the 80s, those unemployment numbers were actual representations and not just how many people are collecting benefits. Because remember, now the number is based on how many people are collecting benefits and how many people reply to the survey. If you don't reply to the survey, they don't put you on the list, which I think is bullshit, because it's an inaccurate number. You can use the unemployment rate if you know what the number means. But if you don't know what the number means, then you're applying it wrong. This is why the title of today's show is We Don't Have to Respect All Points of View. We do have to respect people's right to have them, but I don't have to respect your point of view when you call people smooth brain and you're a fucking dumbass. Now, for people that are wondering how the system breaks, I'll show you how the system breaks. So I have the power to reset the market. I have the power to completely reset the entire market magically because I have a Utopia button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the Utopia button. And in that Utopia button, you're all going to be paid $15 an hour minimum wage. And so that $15 an hour by 2080 is $31,200. And when we times that by 3, your home buying ability is $93,600. So we're going to do 31,002 over here. And then we're going to do one column where we do 93,006. Sorry. 93,600. And then we're going to do another column where we do 93,600. So our first year, everything is great. Home prices are forced fixed at 93,600. Everybody makes the minimum wage. Everybody makes 31,200. And everybody this year is going to get a 3% raise. And what's going to happen is you're going to go up to 32,136. And I magically can control inflation. So the 93,600 house is only going to go up by 3%. So it's going to go up to 96,408. And when I divide that number by 3, what I magically get is 32,136. Because imagine that. You went up by 3% this year. And I controlled inflation at 3% this year. Oh, it doesn't work on this one anymore. I controlled inflation by 3% this year. But now what do we know about commodities, assets, investments, stocks, bonds? They grow at a rate faster than inflation because an asset grows in value. So all I have to do is do this. The home value went up by 4%. The rest of inflation was 3, but home values went up by 4. So when I go 93,600 times 1.04, now it's 97,344. And when I divide that by 3, what happens is, now in order to buy that, you need to be making 32,448. And you already see the disconnect. So for every year that goes by, the price of that house appreciates more than your 3% raise. At some point, you're no longer you're right now, you could be like, okay, well, if I do the 50-30-20 rule, even if you haven't seen the 50-30-20 rule, that's on my YouTube channel. You could say, okay, instead of spending 30% on my wants, I'm going to spend 25% on my wants so that I can divert 5% to my needs and cover my mortgage. You could do that for a while. But eventually what's going to happen is at 4%, just 4% a year, it's going to grow out of control. And house prices have been growing by a lot more than 4%. People are like, wages have minimum wages all the way back to 1968 has never, ever allowed you to buy the median house price. Ever. And I'm working on that story today. I'm going to try to get it out for tomorrow, but I think I'm going to need till Thursday. The new homes in the 70s were around 1,500 square feet. No homes now are 21,000 or 2,100 square feet. Yes. That's what people don't want to get. I remember my childhood home before my dad put the addition on it. 3 bedrooms. one full bath, one half bath that he turned into a half bath. He built the shower. Kitchen, living room, unfinished basement. That was it. If you weren't in your room, you were out in the living room for family TV time. I had a second half bath. Yeah, I was rich, but it was because my dad had turned a water closet into a half bath. My dad was a contractor. My dad was a plumber, an electrician. He did all those things professionally. He built houses. What has happened to the average family size? For a while, it was bigger. Well, for a while, it got smaller, and then it got bigger, and then it got smaller. Now we're at negative population growth. Bigger houses for smaller families. Right. And I get it. But what people don't understand, and they don't want to understand, when they talk about housing, my basic needs. Okay, I'm all about talking about your basic needs. Right? I'm all about talking about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But people misunderstand it, and they don't want to understand that they misunderstand it. I want you to look down here. Shelter. The hierarchy of needs doesn't say a single family home with 2 more bedrooms than you need with a TV in every room. That's not what it says. It says shelter. And when I say this, people are like, oh, well, you're being so unfair. That right there is why you want the big house. Your respect, your self-esteem, your status, your recognition. Those are esteem goals. Those aren't physiological needs. I don't have any problem saying this. There was a period of time, I had a 3-bedroom house. I had a 3-bedroom house, 1 bath, 1 full bath. My girlfriend and I lived there, but money was tight, and we slept in a twin bed in the office because we both had our computers in the office, and we could set the heat in the house down to 60 degrees, 58 degrees, 55 degrees, because we both worked the same shift. So when we got home, we would turn on our computers, we would, laugh and joke, and then we would sleep in a twin-size bed because we didn't have the money to run the bill to heat the whole house to a comfortable 70, 68, 72, depending. But my needs were met. I had love, I had intimacy, I had a sense of connection, respect, self-esteem. Was hit a little bit. And then I got all the other debt off the plate. And so then it was like, she was excited as shit. I ain't gonna lie that she was happy about it, but she had gotten kicked out of her mom's house. She showed up, we'd only been dating like 2 weeks. She showed up on my doorstep and she's like, I just got kicked out of my mom's house. And I was like, what'd you get kicked out for? And she said, spending all night with you. Well, I was a younger man. I felt bad. I felt like this was my responsibility, so I took her in. We had a great 3 years. It's just, I had a different direction to go. I didn't kick her out. She got her own apartment. Houses without central air, houses with low ceilings, houses with very insulation and substandard wiring, narrow, steep stairs, no garage. The house that I bought had a garage that I ended up having to frame inside. The garage was just cinder block wall. I ended up spending several $100s insulating it. I ended up spending a large number of several weekends in a row taking out all the bullshit insulation they had. Yeah, assuming they met code, nothing was substandard. Right. It was But I know what you're saying about substandard wiring is when I moved into my first house, I had to rewire the whole house because I had electronic toys. And when I bought the house, I looked at the outlets and they were 2-prong outlets. And what the people that had been living there before had done was get the 2-prong to 3-prong adapter. So yeah, that took a lot. Rent is more expensive than a mortgage. I think they're complaining about the wrong things. I'll get there. Let me throw that on the queue. I'll get to that one in a second. The problem is that we've regulated an expectation to affordable starter houses out of existence. Here's the problem. No, we haven't. We haven't done that. We haven't gotten rid of starter homes. People just don't want to live in them. Right? People don't want to move into a house that they'll have to fix up. $15,000, $18,000, $25,000, $29,000, $30,000, $30,000, $35,000, $35,000, $36,000, $37,000, $39,000, $43,000, $44,000, $50,000, $50,000, $52,000, $54,000, $55,000, $55,000, $60,000. Yeah, that's the expectation part. But all of these houses, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet. I ain't gonna live in that. Well, hold on a second. 72,005 divided by 3 is 24,000 divided by 2080. You could buy this son of a bitch, right? At about $12 an hour. Is it going to be glorious? No. Are you going to have to spend a lot of your time going to Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, going to their free classes? Yeah. If the shitter works, and let's be honest, if the shitter works and the heat works and the stove works, you've got everything you need. The shower needs to work too. I'm sorry. If the shower works, the shitter works, the stove works, and the furnace works, so you're not freezing. You've got everything. It's like, well, I don't want to live there. Okay, well, move in. You can sponge bath. That is true. You can sponge bath. You could, if you needed to completely renovate, and I'm not trying to be crude, I'm not trying to be crass. If you need to renovate the entire bathroom, you can get a gym membership month to month and shit in a bucket while you gut the bathroom. It's not me personally, I wouldn't want to move into it until the bathroom worked. I'm big on the bathroom working. It's like going on a cruise. If you're going to spend all your time in your room, you want the best room possible. Let's see. Yeah. Rent doesn't disappear forever. Just so we're clear. Most homeowners get fucked in the ass because they're not sliding their account to match the value of their house. Now, because I have a child who is still tearing up the walls, tearing up everything, I haven't put any money into this house. I've lived here since 2016. I haven't really put any money into the house. I put preventative maintenance money into the house, had the furnace checked, had the bladder on the hot water heater fixed because we have irregular water pressure here in town. But I haven't put money in. I need to rip out all the carpets, rip out the baseboards. Thanks, Sora. Rest in peace, but you pissed on my baseboards. So I got to rip out the carpets. I got to rip out the baseboards. I have to paint every room. I have to fix some ceiling fans. I have to rip out some mirrors. I have to renovate a couple of bathrooms to make when time comes to sell. I haven't put any money in the house. I have $50,000 sitting in an account to flip this house. Yeah, a lot of people lost money on their first house thanks to the housing crisis. Absolutely. Rent shouldn't be close to a mortgage. I think you're projecting some problems there. Why shouldn't the rent be close to a mortgage? You have to live in the asset. If you can't afford to finance an asset, then you're stuck living how you can. There's a lady who caused a big fight in our neighborhood last night. She's one of those people that says shit like, you shouldn't call the police on other people. Bullshit. I use the police for their other function. Remember, they're officers of the peace. I don't deal with people. The only neighbor that I have a good relationship with is the Marine across the street. He and I will bullshit a couple of minutes. If I see he's not busy and I see him, I'll be like, hey man, we'll talk for a minute. He knows my wife. My wife knows their wife. But if I had a problem with him, I'd walk over and talk to him. If I have a problem with any of my other neighbors, first of all, are they breaking the law? If they're not breaking the law, then my problem with them is my problem with them. I don't like the fact you're being loud after 9 o'clock at night, but I don't call the cops on you. I don't like the fact that you're loud at 10 o'clock at night, and I give you like 15 minutes to shut it down. 10:15 though, I'm not walking over to your party and saying, hey, asshole, shut it down. I'm just calling the cops and saying, hey, there's somebody disturbing the peace at this address. I don't really want to get in a fight with my neighbor. Can you go talk to him? Because, well, you could have come over here and had a civil conversation. Well, you could have not been a dumb fuck and realized that quiet hours start at 10 and you could have just shut it down on your own. I ain't your daddy. Why should daddy have to get out of bed, put on pants and bring the belt? Shut your shit down. It's after 10 o'clock. Now I'm not there at 10:01. 15 minutes, get your guests out to the car. This lady, they routinely put the dog out at 5:30 in the morning and the dog barks for 25 minutes. We have a barking dog ordinance in my town. The lady's all pissed. When I said, hey, since you're new in town, here's the ordinance, and I capped the word untimely. And she's like, a dog barking isn't a nuisance. It is. Look at the capped word. Well, the dogs only bark like 5 or 7 times before we call them in. Doesn't fucking matter. Your dogs are barking at an untimely hour, you stupid motherfucker. Where is the... Rent is more expensive than a mortgage. I think they are complaining about the wrong things. The problem is, rent is often the same as the mortgage. Because you're buying my asset for me. There's no reason they can't charge whatever they want. It just doesn't make sense. How can rent go up when the quality of apartment goes down? Because property taxes go up? If you want a straight answer, why did your rent go up? Yeah. When they raise the supply and demand really doesn't apply to apartments. Supply and demand really doesn't apply to apartments. Because your apartment, supply and demand means you're thirsty and I have a root beer and now this root beer is worth $100. I use the Elon Musk example. Elon Musk is 500 feet from his car in the desert and he cannot get to his car without the gallon of water I have. He cannot. That gallon of water is no longer worth $1 that I paid for it at the gas station. That gallon of water is worth $1 billion because he has no supply. He has critical life-saving demand. That gallon of water is worth $1 billion. With that said, when it comes to apartments, you can squeeze every penny out of the tenants. But at some point, you reach a point where nobody will rent it. Now, with that said, where that dollar amount is, I was getting there. Where that dollar amount is, I don't know. But the lady says she's spending $3,000 a month to rent her unit in this neighborhood. Well, that's about right. That's 1% of the value of the asset. That's about right. Think of that, though. A landlord, it will take a landlord more than 100 months to pay off the asset. That's 8.3 years. That's not including every month that he loses when he has no occupancy. That's not including the money that he has to put in for wear and tear, because you have to flip your units every 3 to 5 years. They just raised it to the point that it's cheaper to move. Yeah, but here's my question. I get what you're saying. Yeah, the time and the effort to manage it. Remember, if the asset's $300,000 and the landlord is only charging you 1% of the value of the asset, the landlord's not making any money. And landlords are, if anybody tells you landlords are in it to make money, they're not. They're in it to acquire assets that they can sell later on for profit, because they're able to depreciate the value of the property over the 8.3 years that they're paying it off. They're able to devalue the asset, because then what they get to say is, I had to do this, I had to do this, I had to do this, which is why we need to change that part of the tax code. If a landlord can depreciate the asset as a tax write-off for the time, effort, energy, money, resources he puts into the house, then a homeowner should be able to do the same thing. A homeowner, there is no reason why in a single family dwelling, a landlord can get a tax write-off for things that the homeowner can't. And why can the landlord do it? Because it's a business, not a residence. And it's bullshit. And we need to go down through the tax code and go line by line. If I have to replace my furnace this year, I can't write off the cost of my furnace. So when you hear about people saying, create a property management company, sell your house to it, you pay it rent, and then if something goes wrong in your house, the property management company fixes it as a tax write-off. Now, it's not that simple. There are more bits and bobs, because you have to make sure that you haven't illegally created a holding company. There's a lot of bits and bobs you have to do. But that's the crux of it. Housing situation is definitely messed up by the tax code and regulatory environment. Both aren't serving the broadest national interest. They're serving the narrow interests. You're right. They are. They're serving the narrow interest. They are not serving the will of the people. They are serving the will of the politician. It is just that simple. We have people that as of this morning believed the military was in Chicago. That's why they created it. It wasn't for the people ever. It was disguised as that. No, here's the worst part. They never even disguised it as that. Because the American people, no offense, they're too fucking dumb. You're literally listening to people. Oh, gaslit. Yes, absolutely. The American people believe Bernie Sanders when Bernie Sanders says, is raising the minimum wage to $17 a radical idea? Old man Sanders never sweat a payroll. Old man Sanders has never owned a business. Old man Sanders has never eaten last, gotten paid last. Bernie Sanders bitches about millionaires, but he is one. Bernie Sanders doesn't bitch about millionaires. He bitches about billionaires. We got to put him in we got to put him at the right trough. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with being a millionaire. Oh yeah. If you're talking about early on in his, yes, early on, Yes, early on in his thing, he bitched about millionaires. And then after 2016, and he made over $1 million. I couldn't think of the name of his book, but the big one that made him over $1 million in royalties was Our Revolution and Where We Go From Here. And so now he says billionaires. Well, billionaires aren't the problem. But as soon as I say that, somebody on TikTok's like, you're simping for billionaires. I'm not simping for billionaires. I'm weeping for the fact that your fucking schooling failed you. We exist on fiat currency. We exist on monopoly money. Your dollar bill is, and people don't grasp this, your dollar bill is worth exactly the same amount as the same denomination out of the monopoly box. All that matters is, am I willing to give you a Barks for a dollar bill out of the monopoly box? If I'm willing to do that, then it has value. If I'm not willing to do that, even who'd I say? Elon Musk is 500 yards from his car. He's gonna die. Hey, Elon, I got a gallon of water. I can save your life. I'll give you 100 million for it. Nah, bitch, you got 400 billion. I'll give you 4 billion for it. Cool. I'll take 1% of your projected net worth, even though it's monopoly money. Meanwhile, he and I both got shit on. He gets the gallon of water. He agrees he's going to be a man of his word, but the stock market is crashed by the time we get to his car, and he's only worth 27 million. Well, he ain't got the 4 billion to give me anymore. He gives me 1% of his net worth. It ain't 4 billion anymore. People don't understand that this world is one giant monopoly game. The poor people and the financially illiterate people don't understand this is one big monopoly game. Those people that do understand, they've made a lot of money that way. People are mad though. Why are rents going up? Why are rents going up? Because you drove out good landlords. I didn't want to be a landlord anymore in this bullshit. Yeah, the others are putting hotels on Park Place. Actually, what the smart people are doing is they're not putting the hotels on Park Place. They're buying all the shitty properties all the way around because they don't want a huge chunk of your money at one time. They want you to not be able to go around 2 weeks without the rat race. Again, I didn't say this. I think this comes from Kevin Hart. I like comedians because I liken comedians to the modern day philosophers. I think it was Kevin Hart who said, what do you see in all the black neighborhoods? A cash checking place in the same strip mall as a liquor store. Why are you cashing your paycheck at a cash checking place? You're losing a little bit of the service fee. I had a friend cash their check all the time at the cash checking place. And I said to him one day, I was like, because I told you, I started off poor and then I became rich and shit and life fucked me. I became poor again and I've become rich again and I never want to be poor again. But I said to my friend, I was like, so you get $395 off of our full-time paycheck when you go to the cash checking place? And they were like, yeah. I was like, I'll cash your check for you. And I'll give you 400. Because I was still making about another $12. Just walked into the bank. They signed their check over, deposited into my account. You know what I finally said to him? I said, why don't we just open you a fucking bank account? I think at the time I was like, if you open a bank account here and put direct deposit in and you have 3 automatic bills paid out, you get $250 and I get $250. And they were like, are you for real? I was like, yeah, all you got to go in, you got to set up direct deposit, and you have to have 3 automatic bills pay out. They're like, oh, well, shit, man. I end up spending like $3 per money order. I'm like, you dumb fucking truck. You're writing 7 money orders a month for $21. You're paying $15 total in cash checking fees. Holy fuck, man. That's groceries. Granted, this was a long time ago. That's fucking groceries. It's the little things. It's a game of Monopoly now with some hands sneaking into the bank, and it's steadily turning into Cyberpunk 2077. We are very rapidly becoming the world of corporate ownership of your rights. And here's what needs to happen right now. I mean this absolutely. They need to impeach Donald Trump for the executive order that he signed about flag burning. Now, hear me out. I have an honorable retirement from the United States Air Force. I am the guy that will bleed on the flag to keep that shit red. And I support your right to burn the flag in protest, even though it makes my blood boil. I support your right to burn the flag in protest. Because in 1989, the Supreme Court of my country ruled it was an expression of your free speech. Makes my blood boil. I hate you for burning the flag. I will never speak to you again, but I will defend your right to do it. But where our country has had a full frontal fucking lobotomy is burning the LGBT gay pride banner is a hate crime. Burning the flag of another country is a hate crime. Burning the Black Lives Matter banner, because they're not flags, because they do not represent a sovereign people. A flag represents a sovereign people. This is the flag of the United States. It represents the sovereign nation of the United States of America. This is the flag of the state of Illinois. It represents a sovereign state of people. This is a banner. This is a banner. This is the Jewish flag that you can get charged with a hate crime for burning. But burning the flag, if you're going to get a hate crime for burning a banner, then burning the American flag should be charged with at least mutinous insurrection and at most fucking treason. And when I say that, people are like, oh my God, you've lost your fucking mind. It is that very flag that gives you the right to do that. It is the men and women of the armed forces who have bled to keep the stripes red that gives you the right to do it. And I want one set of rules. It is either we can't burn the American flag, so we can't burn any other flag, or if we can burn the American flag, then I don't give a fuck what your other banner is. We're burning that shit too. The idea is that some groups have more rights than others is one I cannot agree with. Right. You do not, and this is where, if you knew me from a few years ago, you knew that I pissed off the trans community in a video game. Video game Ashes of Creation is going into Alpha 3 today. I could give two shits. I got other work to do. If I get done with all my other work to do, great. If I don't, I won't play it. In that community, there were a number of transgender individuals. They used to come to my show. And one of them asked me a question one time about transgenders. And I said, transgenders have the right to identify as anything they want. But if they do, so do I. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, if you want to identify as a fucking house cat, that's fine. I want to identify as Lord Megatron. If I'm having a bad day, I want to be Starscream. And if I'm jamming out to PGN music, I want to be Soundwave. And they were like, I can't believe you just said that. I was like, why? You can identify as whatever you want, but I can't? If they're like, well, you're just being absurd. You're a guy in a beard in a dress identifying as beard self, and I can't identify as a Decepticon? I mean, if it requires me to go get the Decepticon logo, I'll go get it. And that's the thing. If you are willing to embrace the absurdity of anybody doing what they want, then I'll support it. It's a blurry line. Burning the American flag feels like inciting violence. Inciting violence is a tricky thing, but it should be stopped when it plainly occurs. I don't think we're protesting is an excuse to break normal laws of civil order. Well, right, and that's what people don't understand, and why we need a rewrite of the Constitution. And we need to rewrite the First Amendment to the way it was intended to be, that you were supposed to have the right peaceably to assemble for a redress of grievances from your government. That is all supposed to be one continuous thought. It is not supposed to be you have the right to peaceably to assemble and the right to ask your government for a redress of grievances. What it's supposed to be is, hey, Congressman, this is my problem. Yeah, I'll take care of it. Hey, Senator, this is my problem. Yeah, I'll take care of it. Hey, President, this is my problem. Yeah, I'll take care of it. Hey, they're not taking care of it. 1 million men march on the White House. Then the president wakes up and says, holy shit, there's 1 million people on my front lawn. Go out there and find the leader and 4 other people, bring them in the White House, let's have a chat. So the leader and the 4 other people go in, they have a chat, and then they're supposed to go out and say, okay, guys, the government has heard our petition. Let's disperse. I feel totally justified in stopping you from burning the flag in front of a gas pump. No, I don't, and let me tell you why. Let me see if I can find the photo. Because there's a hilarious photo about this. It makes me... I don't know if I'll have... Oh, yeah, here it is. Holy shit. This is old as fuck. Watch, it pulls my own account up. This... Oh, they took it down. Those bastards. Oh, you fucking no nutsack having pussies. Why do you take the shit down? Can somebody else have it? This is from 9/11. This is all the way back from 9/11, where everybody around the world was celebrating 9/11. I love this fucking picture. This picture makes me so happy in all the wrong places. American flag, $25. Gasoline, $2. Cigarette lighter, $2.50. Catching yourself on fire because you're a terrorist asshole. Priceless. Fuck 'em. Darwin Award. I wish it was his crotch, so we could honest to God issue him a Darwin Award. Yeah, gas was only $2 a gallon. No shit. I'm not from the US. Okay, hold on. What you got? I'm not from the US, but if you're allowing burning flags for protest, what's stopping you from stopping at that? Holy shit, the non-American fucking gets it. Hey, we've reached a point where we're violently burning a flag. So what's to stop us from violently burning a store? Which, the moment you throw a Molotov through the window of a store, you're no longer protesting, you're a rioting piece of shit. And I don't like to get racial this early in the show, but if you followed fucking recent American current affairs, certain demographics get mad that they protest and it turns into riots, and then all of the small businesses move out of their fucking area because their insurance, they don't have riot insurance. They don't have riot insurance. Because one of the things you always have to do when you fill out an accident or a claim, is this damage due to the actions of another person? Yes. Do you have a police report? Yes. We're unable to pay. We have to find the person and make them pay. And then there's a length of time that they're allowed to do their investigation. Riot insurance, you have to carry it. I'm not joking. In an area that has had a history of riots, you must carry a riot insurance rider on your policy. It's labeled under a lot of different bullshit things, like, no, it's not included. Here, dude, do you know what else isn't included in a lot of insurance things? If you take the bare minimum insurance, the damage done to your house by the fire department when they're putting out the fire isn't covered. on some of these shitty non-mainstream insurance companies, that's how they get out of paying all this money. They're like, okay, well, it's going to cost $150,000 to rebuild your home. 35,000 of that was done by the fire. The rest was done by the fire department. Yeah, no, business insurance for businesses is a joke. You have like 16 different policies, and I'm sure there's still gaps. I'm glad you said that, because a business owner can then, because I like when a business owner can say it instead of me. You have to carry one insurance policy, and I'm not even fucking joking. You have to carry one insurance policy for liability for your employees. You have to carry a different liability insurance policy for your guests. Then you have to carry standard, I'm going to call it, quote, homeowners insurance, because it's all the things that are standardly covered in your homeowner's insurance. The building, the toilets, the electrical, all that. And you would think that if I have liability, and building insurance, that it would cover the cost of all the stuff. Nope. You have to carry a separate insurance policy for your cash registers, your bar, your taps, all your keg piping, obviously, because that's what I owned. And then you have to carry yet another policy for how much inventory you have. Taxes for the mayor, taxes for the sheriff, taxes for the king, taxes for the church. Shit, that's just my insurance liabilities. At one place, I had 6 insurance policies. Employees, guests, parking lot, the building and structure itself, all of the bar-related stuff, and inventory. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 more, because I had an apartment upstairs. So I had to, even though the building was insured, I then had to carry personal renter's insurance on the building, and then on the bar side, the business that owned the bar side had to carry landlord liability insurance. You have to subscribe to the fire service. Yeah, we've talked about that before. And this is one of the things that people don't understand. It's like that person who came in here the other day. I found out that they were a fucking troll. Yeah, you have to subscribe to fire service when you live in unincorporated areas. If you're in the unincorporated area and your property tax isn't the same as the people in the town proper, then you have to pay an additional fee out of pocket to have fire service on your house. No, it's usually, I don't know what it's like for them. Here it's $75 a house, which is still cheaper than the line item out of your normal property taxes. But you got to pay it. People are always wanting to wait until they get in a fire to subscribe. Yeah. No wonder why there's a socialist insurgence in the US. I'm going to help you out with something. It's $50 a month. Holy shit. That's on par that's probably, yeah, that's crazy. You know why people have a social resurgence? I'll show you that too.
Some of you
I'm ready to go there too. This is a No, that's not a politician. This is a politician that is running for office in Georgia. Grumpy old man. There'll be an article about this woman coming out in a couple of days on my platforms. You can share it with fellow Georgia people about how fucking embarrassing this woman is.
Hey, so the US buying shares of Intel is socialism.
You say it's socialism, but it's socialism, the costume party. It's really capitalism in disguise. Buying shares of stock in a company doesn't automatically check all the boxes for socialism. It's more likely corporate welfare or industrial policy or state capitalism. Socialism requires a lot of things. It requires the government to own and control the means of production, the factories, the prices, and the output. That can only happen if the US takes a 51% control of the company and nationalizes it. That's not what's happened here. The US has taken about a 10% equity stake in Intel. And it's important because Intel lost about $3 billion last quarter. They laid off over 5,000 American factory workers, and there's still 15 to 20,000 American factory jobs on the line. This is about securing America's chip supply chain and protecting American jobs in America. It's not about the government suddenly running Intel. It's not like this is new, and nobody was calling it socialism in the past when we've done this. In 2008, during the bank bailout, The US didn't buy common stock in banks, but they got preferred equity stakes and they got stock warrants in Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. Those gained dividends and upside, but the US government didn't take control. In 2009, with the automotive industry, it was the same. The US Treasury took about a 60% stake in General Motors. Now, it would be bad if this is where the conversation with this woman ended. It would be bad enough. She's running for office as a Democrat, and she's saying to people, this is socialism. Well, the problem is you have to know what the fuck socialism actually is. What scares the bejesus out of me with this woman is that, hey, stop it. She's going to go back and she is going to say some dangerous shit. And it scares me. This is an oversimplification for sure. This is TikTok, not a philosophy lecture. But it's the people via our elected representatives owning a share in production. I would put that under the broad umbrella of social ownership. Then say that, you stupid fucking pendeja bitch. Then say that. Then teach your constituents a new word called social ownership. Social ownership would have been the better statement. It would have been accurate. Social ownership is not socialism. Then she's gonna go on, and it's just unfucking real. We're obviously not suddenly a socialist nation. Maybe I give people too much credit assuming they would understand the point I was making about Republicans being okay with what they cry is socialism when Trump does it. We're now living under socialism. Or not that we're living under socialism now. Okay, let me help you out. Except the act of buying shares in a company isn't socialism. It could be, absolutely. But it is also state capitalism, communism, corporate welfare. I think calling it communism is more incorrect than socialism. People do understand that socialism isn't designed to be a standalone fucking government, right? Just so we're clear, everybody understands that socialism is the bridge between capitalism and between capitalism and communism. What we're aiming for is we're trying to get to the utopia state. There's no, we're not, I mean, yes, they acknowledge that we're going to be in socialism for some length of time. But it gets fucking worse, man. It gets worse. Where's the next thing she says? And she continued to argue. She continued to argue with a nobody content creator. Are you happy with the Trump administration? I actually can't tell. I don't want this to continue. I'd like to put on guardrails. I still don't think I said something incorrect. If you ask 10 people to define socialism, 5 won't be able to, and the other 5 will have different answers. My focus isn't an intellectual exercise. It's to flip a seat, and I need to communicate in a way that most of them will understand. So your job is to lie to people. And then it gets even better. Would you prefer everyone use your personal language? This isn't my fucking language. I said it yesterday because I did a little bit of a show yesterday and a little bit today. I wish on my best day that I could have one day with the academic understanding of Marx or Engels. Just one day. As I said in a tweet, if somebody tries to explain socialism to you in one video, in one article, in one tweet, in one book, don't bother. I could spend the rest of the year streaming 40 hours a week. And you could be here for all 40 hours a week. And at the end, on Christmas Eve, I would say to you, you now know enough about socialism to start studying it for yourself. But the moment you start seeing communism, you need to stop, because I haven't given you that much. All these people that say any socialist nation that has ever been tried in the country, in the world, has been oppressed by America. Factually correct, yes. Because they're all doing non-socialist things. Do you know what you don't plan for in socialist nations? Offensive war. Notice what I said. Offensive war. There is nothing that says in a socialist nation you can't have a military. However, you would never invade anybody else. It would be against the stage of enlightenment you would need to reach. You know why communism will never ever work? Because it needs to be a global government. It needs people that have been taught their whole life that their sole job is to have children and teach them for their whole life to have children, to teach those children their whole life to be able to be ready to transcend to communism. Because you have got to dystopian level control people for 3 generations, because you literally have to fundamentally change the state of nature. I'm not saying that we as a people can't transcend the state of nature. But I can tell you right now, the hungry person doesn't give a shit about how they get fed. They give a shit about eating. If that's theft, if that's handout, if that's pulling themselves up on their bootstrap, all they give a shit. No, if you were fully communist, the last step of communism is there is no state. The last step of communism is it's a stateless society. Which means in order to be moving down the rows of communism. See, I say the problem with communism is that when you first get there, you basically have to create another bourgeoisie. In order to get in from socialism into communism, what you're literally saying is we've stripped the state of its power. In socialism, the masses have risen up and seized the means of production. Now the masses control them. And after 40, 50, 60, 75 years of the masses controlling them, then we want to make the next step. But you would need people without ambition. Right. Because remember I said you have kids who raise kids who raise kids? That's what you need to change. Because right now, people have to have ambition in order to survive. So, I am too polluted to be in a communistic society. Have I heard of the Democratic Socialists of America? Yes. And I don't have a problem with the idea of democratic socialists. And here's why. Because I'm not against socialist ideas. Because Social Security is a socialist idea. Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, WIC, women's, infants, and children. Those are all socialist ideas. I'm not against the idea of Section 8. I'm against the idea that any landlord can apply part and parcel with their tenant to get the unit rated as Section 8. And that's bullshit, because it is not the job of the state to fund the acquisition of assets by landlords. It is the role of the state to own the building, maintain the building. Oh, they do it everywhere. I was working before my daughter decided to fucking throw a 1-year temper tantrum. I was working with my daughter to get her unit rent controlled. $750 unit that would have been rent controlled. I was paying for at the time, but I would have paid $250. The state would have paid $500. And then I know what the landlord would have done. The landlord would have prepped the rent up every year until he reached the point where they send a letter and they say, if you increase the rent any further than this, we will no longer cover it. Well, that's bullshit. The state should build the apartment. The state should manage it. The state should maintain it. The problem is, who the fuck wants to deal with the people? Not that the people living in poverty are bad people. Some are. But who the fuck wants to deal with the dredges of society every single day? That's why we had Cabrini Green. In Chicago, we had Cabrini Green and the Robert Taylor homes. And what do? They closed them. The state would fuck it up. Absolutely. Why? Because I think I told you guys this story. A long time ago in a land far away, I was an even bigger nerd than I am now, which is hard to believe, but it is what it is. I wanted to open a gaming store. I had a plan. There was a place. I already knew what I was going to do. I was a big LARP storyteller on the south side of Chicago. A lot of people knew me. I was going to rent a big chunk of a strip mall on a rent-to-own deal. So I would have owned the strip club. The strip mall. Not the strip club, the strip mall. And then I was going to put the store on one end of it, and then I was going to build out the rest of it as a LARP place so that, you know, because I made about $5 a head at the LARP a week. So $1,000 a week, pretty good. Well, what I was going to do is I was going to set that all up, and then the location had a kitchen. So then I was also going to serve food, serve drinks. I was going to dump the cost to come into the LARP down to $3, but then serve hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza rolls, drinks, and make money that way. Well, I applied, and I got rejected for a small business loan. So I was sitting around with my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, she was looking at all of my stuff, and she's like, this business plan is fucking immaculate. Why didn't you get the small business loan? I said, I have no idea. Well, I was getting ready to leave for the military anyway, because some terrorist assholes blew up a building, and if I had gotten the loan, I would have not gone. Well, no, not my first employee. Not my first employee. The owner. She was gonna be the 55% owner on paper, with a promissory signed note over here that, oh, my first employee, fuck you. We had it all set up. She was gonna be the owner, but her 55% shares were watered down against mine. She submitted the same fucking business plan. She didn't change anything other than everywhere it says owner, she hit her name, parentheses 55%, and parentheses, comma, at the back of my name, 45%. It got approved. The same fucking cock-sucking business plan got approved. Because on the cover sheet, she was able to check Hispanic and woman, and it got approved. No, minority woman-owned business. We need to stop that shit. Defense contracting? Oh, if you were in defense contracting is absolutely... If you're a disabled female minority veteran, what's that? 35 weight points on the contract? Your whole fucking deliverable sheet has to be... You were popular? There you go. Disabled veteran, 2 categories. Female minority, 35%. So when everybody submits their bids, after just reviewing the bid sheet, that person has got a 35%. Their deliverable sheet has to be... Oh, with a STEM degree? Oh, fuck. Our problem is racism bad? Yes. Was slavery bad? Yes. Was all of the shit that happened after the end of slavery up until the civil rights movement bad? Yes. Is DEI racism? Yes. Is affirmative action racism? Yes. Who is it helping? Absolutely goddamn nobody. You got the job. You got the fucking job because of who you were, not your ability to do the job. Yeah. Smart people work around that. They create a holding company that checks all the boxes. Then they contract out to member companies. We are literally fucked when it comes to fixing all the problems in this country. And I'm not trying to be a doomsayer, but if you think affirmative action and DEI is a good thing, let me know why. Let me know why. Because when we start talking about, like, it's to level the playing field. Black man been president. How much more level we got to make it? We got black billionaires. We got minority billionaires. We got women billionaires. People got to get over this whole fucking bullshit about DEI, racism. I need my hand out. I need my hand up. I need my hand job. I need my reach around. People got to get away from that shit. Like, all I want is an equal fair shot at the pursuit of happiness. What I want is I want two things to happen. Number one, I want, if they've got 100 jobs, I want them to hire the 100 best people. And if 89% of those people are white and 11% are minorities, then what I want to do is I want to go down the list of all the minorities and I want to look for the common denominator. In this local area, these 100 applicants for the job all went to 2 high schools. Oh, well, that's an interesting common denominator. Maybe that high school sucks balls. I get people are mad about property taxes. I made a short this week about property taxes. Guys, like, what did the guy say? The guy was one of those clever people. Can someone explain property taxes? Yeah, I absolutely can. Because I shouldn't be talking about politics if I can't talk about property taxes.
If we pay off our houses, why do we still have to keep paying property taxes? But can someone explain property taxes to me? I don't get it.
Because property taxes have nothing to do with the purchase or financing of a home, and they have everything to do with you paying a percentage of the bill you owe for the services that you receive from the local government, the county, and the state. Funding for those services also comes from income tax and sales tax.
Like, what exactly do we get for the property tax money?
You receive critical services. You receive public schools, police, public safety, fire protection, emergency medical services, jails, courts, and the justice system. And I could let that play for 15 more items. You get like 20 things for your property taxes. Now, if your argument is what we get isn't good, that's a different story. For example, I want to defund the police. Why? Because the police are racist. Okay, so do you fundamentally agree with the idea that we should have police officers? Yes. So you fundamentally agree that we need to fund them? Yes. Okay. How does that work for renters? Do they not receive those, or do they still pay the tax? The landlord pays the property tax. So that the property tax is being paid on behalf of the tenant by the landlord who owns the piece of equity, who owns the residence. Now, it's being funded by the rent. It's being included in the rent. It's included in the rent, but it's being paid for by the landlord. It's not, and that was a great question because that's what somebody said. It's not like you rent a place and because you're not a property owner, then they send you a bill. Like, if you lived with the people that lived in one of the apartments I owned, their kids went to the public school that my address gives them the assignment to. It's not like they have to go to the public school and the public school says, oh, by the way, you owe us $15,000 per kid because you're not a property owner. Because on their behalf, I've already paid the property. I've paid it. They've funded it. It's a great question. It's an absolutely great question because that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. People also turn around and they'll say, well, I don't want as many police. I want better schools. Okay. That great opinion. So you fundamentally are okay with the idea of property taxes. You're just not okay with how the money is being divided up. That's perfectly okay. That's a different discussion though. Because remember, the state, the big brother state, the party, I'm big on 1984 because I'm currently dissecting it again. Yes, they own it, they control it, but you're mad at the local government, you're screaming at the local government for the quality of the schools. Then run for school board, because ain't nobody stopping you. Run for school board. Run for school board as a panel. You get 4 other interested parents, run as a slate of candidates, make it really easy, and say, these are all the things I'm going to change about the school. But the problem is, all you know is this: the school sucks. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I say this all the time. There are problems, there are solutions. Too many motherfuckers want to spend 1% of their time identifying the problem and 99% of the time trying to come up with a solution. That's why you're not in charge of fixing anything, motherfucker. Because the problem has to be a minimum of 51% of the time. And the solution should be no more than 47% of the time. What is the problem? The kids aren't graduating, or the kids can't read when they graduate. Okay, that's a problem. Why is that problem happening? Give me the 5 whys. Why is a high schooler not able to read? Because the teachers don't hold them accountable. Okay, so the teachers can not promote the kid. Oh no, the parents have the final say. Oh, so you mean the parents are the problem? Because when I tell you your kid can't read and could use another year in 7th grade, and I'd actually, like, when I come to you as a teacher 1 month into the school year, and I say, your kid should probably be transferred to a remedial education center where they're not going to do anything for a year except reading, writing, and basic math. And the parents get mad. They're like, well, what about all their other stuff? If you can't fucking read, you can't teach yourself science. You can't teach yourself algebra. You can't teach yourself social studies. I was a religion teacher. You can't teach yourself religion. How the fuck how is your kid gonna keep up with reading The Hobbit in class when your kid can't fucking read? Your kid needs to go to a remedial education center. Well, there's gonna be a social stigma to it. What the fuck do you think his social stigma is gonna be when he can't get a job because he can't fill out applications? Because, once again, it can't fucking read. That's our problem. But nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to engage on the idea that we need to fix all these other things. Nobody wants to talk about that. Instead, they want to blame the teachers. They want to blame the politicians. Now, I am not saying that the politicians aren't a filthy bag of corrupt fucking suits. I am not saying that a single politician is any better than Arasaka. If we had capability and subject mastery requirements to move on to the next grade, I think it could help. But parents would need to be driving that. Yeah, they would. Parents would actually have to give a shit about their kids and not celebrate them like little fuck trophies. My daughter hates school. My daughter despises school. My daughter loves to learn. My daughter hates school. My daughter hates school because she literally, my fucking classmates are stupid. There's a kid lives 3 doors down. Been kicked out of school every year. So they finally told the parents he can't come back. The parents want to blame the school district. Well, now we have to educate our kid. I don't know. Maybe if you fucking taught your kid to not be a fucking savage. Yeah, God forbid the union actually agree to something like that. Teachers' unions. There is nothing worse. I don't want to shit on all unions, because 1 out of 10 of them are good. 9 out of 10 unions are fucking terrible. Because what they do is they protect incompetent people that should be terminated for cause, but you can't get rid of them. teacher unions are the worst fucking union ever. Why? Because teacher unions advocated to get rid of basic skills testing. This is a huge stomp. In fact, this is such a stomping point that in my book I'm writing, fixing education is the first thing. I have my basic skills test right here. 96 on it, at 96 composite score. It was, you had to get 31 or more right in any section. When I tell you, I am not joking, that my test was 8, my basic skills math test was 8 addition problems, 8 subtraction, 8 multiplication, 8 division, 8 pre-algebra, and 5 terms. Which of the following is the definition of median, mode, mean, percentile, and percent? My math test was those 45 questions. You needed to get 31 right. Multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, 8 of each, times 4, 32. You need 31 to pass. There were people who failed. The reading test, I'm not kidding when I say this. I would say the reading test. No, well, there's standard. I'm just talking about the basic skills part, not all the other testing you need to do to be a teacher. This is just the basic skills test. You still have to do your curriculum. You still have to do your subject matter. All you got to do all those. At my college, at my university, they required us to take our basic skills test to get our, before we could move on to our clinicals and our student teaching, we had to get a subs license. That was the university's requirement. And all getting the license is taking the basic skills test. What was the, hold on, I don't want to lie to you. It wasn't just the basic skills test. What was the other test that day we had to take? We had to take, oh no, we didn't have to take the other test that day. We had to take the basic skills test that day. That was it. They had gotten rid of the other component. I also think we need, for skill-based jobs, we need to lower the barrier to entry to schooling. No, fuck off. I'll read the rest of your sentence, but here's where I'm going to say the title of the show is, we don't have to respect all points of views. I only have to respect your right to have it. You literally just used the phrase lower the bar. Fuck off. We don't need to lower any more bars. We don't have to lower any more bars in this country. Period. Not a fucking one. There is not one fucking bar we need to lower. I'm sure we could solve our shortage of doctors and everything else that way. No. No. Student loans are not the answer. You're right. But no. Because you know why I want a fucking doctor to have some amount of student loan? Some amount of student loan. I want to cap all student loans at 15%. You borrow $100,000, you only have to pay back $115. But do you know why I want doctors to have student loans? Because I want them to be fucking hungry. You know what I want in medical school? I want medical school to be graded on a curve. I want medical school to be divergent. I want medical school to be, there are 100 of you in medical school in the first month of the first year. By the end of the first semester, 5 of you are gone. The bottom 5 of you are fucking gone out of medical school. And that is going to be in the national medical school record. In the next quarter, 5 more of you filthy motherfuckers are gone and going home. But I got sent home and I had a B+ average. Well, you should have had a fucking A average because you knew it was the fucking Hunger Games. I want, for the highest paying jobs, I want to get the fucking smartest people that we can. This is the minimum threshold. You have to be above this. But you also can't be the last 5 people. Because the last 5 people, they're not fucking hungry. They're not hungry. They're not going to be the ones that are out there researching, learning. They're not going to be the ones that are out there doing continuing education. I want my doctor to stay up on par with what's going on. I want my lawyer to be on par with case law. I think lawyers should have to repass the bar 10 years in. Find all those corrupt, fucking filthy motherfuckers that haven't advocated for their clients. Fucking, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer and all I'm going to do is ever take plea bargains. Fuck you. I think that before a fucking plea bargain should be accepted, the judge, like I said, I want to redesign the courtrooms, and I mean this. Absolutely. I want to redesign the courtrooms. I want the jury box to be over here, and I want this to be glass, and I want them to have speakers, and I want this glass. I want to be able to hit the judge can hit the button and the glass goes black and the microphone cuts out. Because I want them to be able to talk about stuff in the courtroom. But what I want to have happen is if the defense and the prosecutor, you've submitted a plea bargain, I am ready to accept. Defense attorney, come to the center square, please. Please detail for me how you would have tried this case. Please detail for me what your strategy is. What is your strategy on this case? Oh, well, where are my balls? Where's my ass? I don't have a strategy. What? I'm not lying to you. There are lawyers who all they do is they fucking turn over and over plea bargains. They charge their client $4,000 to $6,000 to get them a plea bargain. I think defense attorneys should be required to try so many cases in a period of time. Know what that means? That means you're going to start advocating for your fucking clients. I think that the state should only have so many plea bargains they can offer. And then the state would have to lower the threshold for some of the... we're not charging that. We're not charging that. They need to fix the overcharging. Absolutely. They need to fix the bullshit where your lawyer drives to court. Okay, if you're not familiar with this, your lawyer drives to court. So his drive is an hour. And his drive home is an hour. And he's at court for 8 hours. And it just so happens that he has 4 cases and they each take 2 hours of his day. But every single one of his clients is getting billed for 4 hours. Why? Because the travel time to and from is a common expense. You need to pay your lawyer to drive. You need to pay your lawyer to drive. But if he heard 4 cases that day, he should only be allowed to charge you 1/4 of his driving time. If he had 10 cases that day, I'll let you round up to 15 minutes. This is a great question and I'll take it because I already have an answer to it. Is there any way to get rid of the rampant suing culture? Yes. You know how you get rid of the rampant suing culture? On some shit, the judge... No, don't lower payouts. Don't lower payouts. No, don't lower payouts. Because some of the things... Okay, don't let people have $250 million because they burn themselves on coffee. That's ridiculous. Let me jump on that one real quick and then I'll come back. So, I have a job making $75,000 a year. And I'm 46 years old. I'll use me. So, my maximum age of retirement is 67 minus 43, which means 24 more years of the ability to work. I make $75,000 a year and I get burned on coffee and I can't work anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 24 years by $75,000 and we're going to cap this at 1.8 million. And then we have to do a sliding scale of 24 years of inflation. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to do half of the judgment, 900,000, and now we're at 2.7 million, and that is the absolute maximum that I can get awarded, because unless I can demonstrate that I would have had a higher annual earning potential, I did. I that's what I accounted for. The first number is 1.8 million, what I would make for 24 years, earning $75,000 a year. Then I'm going to take that, I'm going to divide it by 2, and another 900,000. And that's it. That's what it's capped at. Because we know it's capped at that, here's what's going to happen. Number one, no, it's lowering payouts from the, right, it's lowering payouts from the ridiculous. But you can't say lowering payouts because some payouts are measly. Some payouts are bullshit. And what I mean by that is, when my wife's car got totaled, the insurance company only paid $14,000, but the car, in my opinion, was worth $17,000. Well, if I sued them, I don't want them to be lowering payouts because that would suppress all of them. Yeah, capping payouts. Capping payouts. Abso-fucking-lutely. Capping payouts. Now, with that said, yeah, punitive damages should not go to the victim. Punitive damages should go to the state. That's the fine. Now that we talked about that piece, if you're suing somebody over stupid shit, right? If you're suing people over dumb bullshit, then there should be the judge. Somebody said lowering what the attorneys can charge. Then what the judge should say is, you file the plaintiff files their brief, the defendant files their brief, the judge looks at it, and the judge says, all right, based on looking at this case, what's going to happen is we're going to put trial hours on the line. Because punitive damage, here, I'll take your question. I'll roll back to it. I'll roll back to it. So we're going to say that all the trial hours are going into a box. And how much do you charge an hour? I charge 1,000. How much do you charge an hour? I charge 500. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put trial hours in the box at 750. So if there's 20 trial hours on this case, then what's going to happen is the winner is going to get 15,000 from the loser. So if you're bringing a frivolous lawsuit, and you lose, well, you have to put, in order to proceed, each of you have to put $15,000 into an escrow account. And this is only on the civil side. So you each have to put $15,000 into an escrow account because you've said, I'm being sued, da-da-da. Why should the defendant have to put $15,000 into the escrow account? Well, because if they get found liable, they're gonna have to pay that. Well, what if they know they did it? Then they should fucking settle it. If they know they're wrong, settle it. Let's get all this bullshit out of the court. Let's get all these bullshit cases out of... Are you wrong? Yes or no? Oh, you are? Okay. The woman suing Disney because at a fucking water park, her fucking bathing suit went up her hoo-ha, and she's suing Disney for a ridiculous amount of money. Look, nobody told you to wear a bikini cut bottom bathing suit. You could have worn boy cut shorts. You're at a fucking water park, lady. And this is a real lawsuit. This is a real fucking lawsuit. Now, the other questions are good. I like them. What somebody said was, I'd add that punitive damages go to the state, not the victim. And then you ask, why the state? The reason why punitive damages should go to the state, because a punitive damage indicates that the state or that the defendant was non-compliant with rules or regulations. The state is the entity that enforces rules and regulations, so the fine goes to the state. Notice that I haven't taken anything away from the victim, because I've already said we're going to take your overall lifetime capacity for learning. Now, I said that I would get back to that. If you're a person in medical school and you don't have any income and you get hurt due to somebody's negligence, well, then they're going to ask, at this moment in time, is there anything about this individual that indicates they would not graduate medical school? Punitive damages, normally it's compensation, liability, and then legal fees, and then punitive damages. Punitive damages are, you shouldn't have done that. And so here's a little fuck you on top of the compensation. I don't think that a person who only has a potential estimation of making $5 million in their life should get $50 million from anybody. Unless, extra above and the top. So I'm not talking about what I said in my example. I'm not talking about the 1.8. This is what you would have earned. Here's the 900,000 to account for all your raises, all your potential for promotions, because we don't want to quibble about that shit. So let's just make it 2.7. But we're also going to fine the company $5 million for their negligence. That's going to go to the state. But then, you know where that $5 million needs to go? That $5 million needs to not be thrown into the overall state budget for them to fucking buy hookers and prostitutes and drugs and blow or take trips. That $5 million needs to go to the agency that was involved in this case. Hey, motherfuckers, here's $5 million divided by $5 million a year for the next 5 years. Get some more fucking inspectors on the case so we don't have people getting hurt. Holy shit, you mean actually fund things? Actually run the government like a fucking business? This division is getting an infusion of $5 million in cash. I don't know. Let's fucking try it. Should this be capped as well to disincentivize frivolous lawsuits from rich people to poor people? Do you mean when the rich are suing the poor and weaponizing the courts? Because I think the lawyer costs, yes, that's why, remember I said, the judge is going to look at it and the judge is going to say, how many trial hours do we have? Well, then you both have to put that amount of money in escrow. The poor people can't afford that. Okay. That's why the judge is going to look at it. And the judge is going to say, well, you're weaponizing the courts because you can afford to fund this. Guy makes $25,000 a year. And you're suing him for $20 million. The judge should take that file, throw it back at the plaintiff and say, are you fucking stupid? Refile this. For example, say somebody stole one of my music tracks and didn't properly credit me. I could be an asshole and do a DMCA strike against them, take them to court. They would get fined $2,500 by the state, and then I could get up to $10,000. But if it's a small YouTuber with 18 subscribers, first of all, how are they hurting me? Under the rules of DMCA, they don't have to have hurt me. But if they were a content creator whose video made them $1 million with my uncredited work, then I have every right to strike them and then say, you know what? I want 10% of the value. I want 32% of the value that generated because you used my music. Well, now we're going to spend all our time back and forth with lawyers. Well, if that person also finds out if they lose, right? Yeah, anyone can use my music. Anyone can. All I ask is that if people use my music, that they credit me some way, shape, or form. Not because I'm trying to get rich, but because if people credit me and the YouTube channel grows and the Spotify channel grows and I make more money, then I go back, I take that money and I pay more composers. Like Vladimir just did another 20-track album for me in blues. I was only able to afford that because of the income I make. But then every week I have to dedicate 3 hours of my life to fucking copyright striking assholes after I've said to them, hey, could you please credit me? My music is made available by Creative Commons by attribution share alike. I had one asshole and he did get fined. He got fined a whole fuck ton. He got fined into oblivion. He's currently appealing his fine into oblivion. He downloaded my music, re-uploaded it, put it into the YouTube catalog, the content creation detection catalog, and was issuing copyright strikes against people. And his excuse was, well, I trimmed out the silence at the end of the tracks, so I've creatively altered it. Bitch, that's why it's Creative Commons by attribution share alike. If you alter my works, you can monetize them. You may not copyright strike anybody because you don't own the copyright. I didn't enter this shit into the public domain. I retain the rights to it. People make everything bullshit because people are greedy as fuck. Look, if my music enhances your show, that's great. That's my goal. If it enhances your show or your podcast or your video to a point where you're making a lot more money and people are saying, hey man, I really like your video since you started putting background music in, then throw a donation in the cup for me to pay a composer. So that people know, so there's no bullshit. I've spent over $30,000 on PGN Music. The tracks you hear on PGN Music aren't whatchamacallit, a 12-year-old using Fruity Loops in his mom's basement. I have mid-level producers or composers. Mikhail, who does a lot of my jazz, is a professional musician. I pay him a lot of money, but his work is exquisite. The problem now is everybody has AI music, so nobody really needs copyright-free music. Problem is AI music kind of sucks. You got to spend an awful long time. Why does the whole process take so long? Because the courts are crowded, slows the process down, and unfortunately, there is a tactic for continuance after continuance after continuance after continuance, because evidence goes missing. People move. People are no longer employed by a company. People don't want to testify. Yep, I have an Apple Music page. Apple Music, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. Now you got me. Hold on. See, you got to ask me the hard fucking questions. Why you got to ask me the hard shit? Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Music, Amazon, Pandora, Deezer, Tidal, iHeartRadio, Claro Musica, Savan, Boomplay. I can't even fucking begin to pronounce that. NetEase, 10 Cents, Jukes, Kukak, Adapter, Flow, MediaNet, Snapchat, and Roblox can fuck itself. You ain't getting my music, you band of fucking pedos. Look, if you're fucking... I don't give a shit what the fucking thought process is. If your thought process requires me to do fucking calculus to figure out why you think she's old enough, you're already lost. Ready? If you are 18 and she will not turn 18 before you turn 19, walk the fuck away. Yes, I have a record label. If you are 18 and she will not turn 18 before you turn 19, walk the fuck away from the day before your birthday until the day of her 18th birthday. That's it. Well, it's going to be like over a year. Slow down, Tiger. If it's going to be over a year, then that means you're 18 and she's 16. And while that might be okay in some, you're going to have to stand in the box and explain to me. It's definitely not okay across the board. If you are able to buy alcohol for yourself and your significant other is still in high school, you're a fucking pedophile. But she's 17. You're 21, bitch. But she's 18 and she's legal. 18 and legal is one thing. Moral is a different. You're drinking beers. She's doing physics homework. Once again. But I love her. Then say to her, hey, I'm about to turn 21. I'm going to wait for you. But you got to get to high school graduation. After a certain age, this is your formula. It doesn't work until it doesn't work until about 25 because I've got so many other restrictions. But right? I'm sorry, it doesn't work until 28. After 28, is it 28? Yeah, it's 28. Before 28, certain rules apply. After 28, you take your age, you divide by 2, you add 7. That's who's okay for you to date. And since some people don't get it, I'll make sure to include the caveat. That's who's okay for you to fuck. Right? So 28 divided by 2 is 14 plus 7, you're good to go. She's 21. He's 21. You're good. After age 28, that's your formula. Before 28, all the specific exemptions apply. And the fact that we have to have this conversation, I want to remind people, in this country, politicians are attempting to lower the age of consent, lower the age of marriage, lower the age of a lot of things. Fuck right off. Lowering the age of consent is like the minimum wage. The age of consent is, if your conversation involves justifying the age of consent, then it means, hold on, I want to say this on, I don't have that page anymore. I want to say it right here. If your argument is anything about the age of consent, you would go lower if you could legally. Fucking dirty perverts. The age of consent in the United States is state-based, not nation-based. Some states is 16, some states is 17, some states is 18. I think with the, I think we've gotten rid of all the less than 16s, right? Yeah, we should have one. Yeah, we have gotten rid of all the, okay, let me put a pin in it. And this sickens me. The age of consent is no lower than 16 if the other person is 18 or up. Period. I want to make sure that we don't exclude that there are people who are married before age 18 and then the age of consent no longer applies because there's no state that has non-consummated marriages. With that said, I think it's weird as fuck if you're 14 and you're married to a 17-year-old. Why are we having this conversation? Because it's becoming more and more prevalent in our country that our politicians are disgusting. Because our politicians have recently, what was it, Colorado? 20-something Democrats in Colorado didn't vote to make exposing yourself to a minor a felony. I believe in due process. It is a very important thing to me. My due process, if you expose yourself to a minor, is me and Lucille are gonna come and see you. Lucille, the barbed wire wrapped bat, she's a vampire bat. We are gonna fuck you up. I think it was because they wanted to respect drag shows or something. Let me help you out, which I say to many people. your toes are over a particular line, that you should look down and you should see that your toes are over a particular line and I'm on the other side of that line with Lucille. It doesn't fucking matter when a child is exposed to adult genitalia. It doesn't fucking matter. It's always fucking wrong. It's always wrong. It does. I don't care if it's a drag show. Like, let me take it a different direction. There was a guy. I don't give a fuck about this guy. He signed the form that's all of my clients signed my right to talk about their cases as long as I don't identify him. This guy said to me during a domestic violence interview, he said the words, I take baths with my daughter. And it was a live stream interview or video camera interview. And I said, stand by one, please. And I went to the front page and I said, I'm sorry. At the beginning of this show, or at the beginning of this interview, we went over your children. Could you please include for me the name and age of the child that you're taking baths with, because I'm missing one of your kids? And he said the name. He said, oh no, it's name. And I said, your 9-year-old? And he said, yes. I'm sorry. I'm terminating this interview right now. Terminate. Hello? 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 I need to report a crime. And then after I reported the crime, then I called the agency. I said, I just want to let you know that homeboy about to get a pavement facial from a couple of cops. You're not supposed to notify the police. Bullshit. Read my contract. My contract specifically states if you report a crime to me, I report it. I'm a mandated motherfucking reporter. I report it. I let other people, and this agency was like, well, I don't think you have any idea how much more complicated you've made this man's life. The fuck did you just say to me? Because we were on a video. The fuck did you just say to me? Well, I don't think you realize how complicated you've made this man's life. I don't think you realize how complicated you've just made your life. I have to terminate this call right now. Click. Hello? I need to report a crime. Yeah, we're investigating it. No, I have to report fucking child endangerment on behalf of an agency that's working under the umbrella of Child Protective Services. They're a subcontractor for DCFS. The operator was like, well, what happened? Or the dispatcher was like, well, no, it was the operator because I didn't call 911 on it. The operator was like, what happened? I said, this is what happened. And the fucking operator was like, holy sweet Jesus, you've got to be kidding me. And I said, nope. They were aware of it. This new agency that cropped up was aware that this guy was taking baths with his 9-year-old daughter. There is a difference between giving your 9-year-old a bath and why a 9-year-old female needs dad's help is, for me, my daughters all had long hair. Sometimes they weren't practicing good hygiene. They smelled like wet fucking dogs. They'd get out of the shower, they'd come past me, and the stink would make my eyes water. And I would be like, fuck no, go back in the shower, wash your hair, because you smell like a wet fucking dog. You smell like a wet dog's ass. And if they didn't, the second time they come past me, I was like, nope, go put your bathing suit on. And I'd say to their mom, I say, do you want to do their hair, or do you want me to do their hair? And she's like, well, they don't let me do their hair. I said, okay, put on your bathing suit, lean back. I'm fully dressed. You're not even in the fucking water. You're sitting on a step stool. Yeah, you're gonna dump your head back. Go clip your fucking hair. It's fucking weird. But what's worse is people are like, if he's a single dad, I 100% agree he can, for lack of a better word, supervise, but that's the fucking line. Yeah, you know where you supervise a fucking 9-year-old girl if you're a single dad? From outside the fucking door. And if you're a single dad and she's 9, you send her back as many times as you need to send her back until she's clean. And if it's only her hair, you do what I did and you sit them on a step stool or the toilet, scrub their hair, have them lean over, use the thing, dry their hair. If you're a single dad, you learn how to do barrettes, you learn how to do braids, you learn how to do ponies, you learn how to do pigtails, you learn how to do that shit when she's fully clothed. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what your justification is. There is no justification for a grown-ass man to be sitting in the same bathwater as a fucking 9-year-old little girl. Ain't fucking nope. And if you think there's any justification, step in the box. And if you get your justification wrong, me and Lucille, we gonna fucking tune you up. With that said, the parameters of the law is showering with your kid wrong, showering with your opposite gender child has a regulation in most states after a certain point. Same-sex child is a different age, generally. But I say generally because I don't have 50 states worth of rules in front of me. But we're living in a world where Colorado Democrats, yes, Lucille is the bat from The Walking Dead.
If we pay off our house,
Lucille is Negan's bat. And I keep this around just because sometimes people forget, and I got to remind them.
Here's a little refresher on who the hell I am. I wear a leather jacket, I have Lucille, and my nutsack is made of steel. I am not dying until I am damn good and ready. Here's a little
That's
refresher.
Me. I'm not dying until I'm damn good and ready. Going off topic, but AI music and art are really changing those industries. So far, they don't replace truly talented creators, but maybe someday they'll be dead industries. They're gonna be dead industries. Like everything else. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you like AI-generated art, if you like AI-generated music, that's what you like. Part of the issue becomes, how do you regulate it? I don't mind AI music. I mind that the AI music creators, and some of my music is AI generated, but I don't just generate the music. I generate the music, I download the stems, I alter the stems. I have a stem library of shit. 15,000 stems out of all the PGN music. So I start with an AI creation for an idea, then I bring it in. Some of the stuff is my creation of stems. I'm nowhere near as good as like Luca, who's made a couple of my albums. The problem is not about replacing real art, it's the tainting of the pool of art that already exists. AI content will start to be trained off other AI slop and will end up being way worse. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I had another talking point today. Oh, Donald Trump. We really need to focus on something as a society. Trump's feed. Oh, yeah. Donald Trump is... Donald Trump is Donald Trump. You can't even... You can't even. At the end of the day, you just can't. You can't. Hold on. I changed one thing yesterday. Yeah, it works on every site now. Okay, politics. Take care. All right. I'm going to jump up real quick for a quick break, and then I'm going to talk about this. Hey, that's me. I designed that. Okay. So people are confused about Donald Trump's court cases, and because they're confused, it's another one of these situations where we don't have to respect all points of view. I don't need to respect your point of view if you're factually incorrect. I made a TikTok video talking about Donald Trump and his convictions. And then I had to make another TikTok video about all the bullshit that people had said in the comments of the other video. And then I said, you know what? This just needs to be a long form piece of content so I can reference it. Right? People are confused by the fact that Donald Trump had 2 cases. His civil case was sandwiched in the middle of his criminal court proceedings, which I am not saying that the state of New York didn't break a bunch of ethical expectations, but they charged him in March of 2023 on 34 felonies. They didn't start his trial until a year later. And in between that time, they hit him with a civil case. Now, that was a very super good video. Thank you. The problem is people in America don't understand the difference between, and it's like, if I go down the rabbit hole of what they don't understand about the law, I'm going to be in the rabbit hole for the rest of the day. There are state level misdemeanors, state level felonies. A felony does not mean it is a federal crime. A felony generally means the punishment is longer than depriving the individual of 365 or more days of freedom. Now, I say generally because 50 states, 50 rules. Now, would it make sense if we had one code of guidelines for laws? Yes, it would. Does it also make sense that every state has their own criminal code? Yes, it does. With that said, there are federal misdemeanors. Crossing into the country illegally is a federal misdemeanor. There are federal felonies. People need to know that, first of all. You can be charged at the state level or the federal level. You can be charged with a misdemeanor or you can be charged with a felony. Now, are there a lot of federal misdemeanors? No. Why? Because the federal government should be the big shit, and the state level should be the piddly shit. Well, what about murder? Well, yes, but murder is a serious crime. But in the grand scheme of things, and I'm not making light of the victim who died, but in the grand scheme of things, murder is piddly shit. Murder is piddly shit. Blowing up the Marar Federal Building is federal level shit. The guy on the corner dealing heroin is piddly level shit. The guy importing 50 million worth of heroin every other week is federal level shit. People don't understand that Donald Trump was indicted at the state level on state crimes. Now, throughout this whole article and the videos I did, people started the argument of, but he shouldn't have been charged. That's an opinion. Was he charged? Yes. When? Right there. Right there. Was he found guilty? Yes. Right there. Was he sentenced? Yes. Right there. But he's not a felon anymore because his $355 million penalty was overturned. He wasn't a felon because of the fraud. He wasn't a felon on February 16th. He wasn't a felon until May 30th. Falsifying business records is the one that everybody's upset about. Well, they can't tell me what fucking crime. Right there. Falsifying business records in the first degree, a Class E felony under New York penalty 17 175.10. What was the sentence? What do you mean, what was this? Oh, the sentence? For which one? He got an unconditional discharge on his criminal case. An unconditional discharge means there is no further penalty. The conviction will stand, but you have no other penalty for this crime. People are like, oh, was he okay, let me help you out. And I don't mind if you want to come to the show, but if you come to this show, man, I'll jump out and then I'll jump back in. If you're gonna come to my show, was he hanging out with Epstein? Yes. And what? And so what? And fucking what? He hadn't hung out with Epstein since like 1994. Lots of people hung out with Epstein. Lots of people did. We got lots of people's names on the flight manifests. If you are really from Dubai, then I'm guessing you understand a little bit more than the average American does about money. But private planes, you give people a ride all the time. When you're at the private hangar, you see people you know. It makes a lot of sense if they're already flying somewhere for you to just bum a ride with them and save yourself all the cost of flying your plane there. You also will get asked. You'll get asked, like, they'll call you, like, you book a private flight. It was my boss 20 some odd years ago. He had a private jet. He didn't own a private jet. He was part of a private jet service. And he got a call once and they said, hey, can we move up your departure time by an hour? And are you willing to split the flight with somebody? And he was like, fuck yeah, I'm willing to split the flight with somebody. Move up an hour, that's cool. Now somebody else, it happens all the time. You're sitting around. We were in the private terminal once, and the company that was supposed to have a plane for us, the plane broke down. And this guy, I don't say his name because I don't have permission to say his name. One of the people he knew was like, where are you headed? He's like, oh, we're headed out to LA. And they're like, yeah, we're headed to LA. Just, you can sit in the front of the plane. We'll be in the back. So we got on the plane and there were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 seats in the front. And then there was like a partition and then a door and where they were. I don't know what they were doing. They were probably doing fucking cocaine and having sex at 35,000 feet. I don't give a shit. It just meant we got there when we needed to. With that said, some people, absolutely. Some fucking people went to Epstein Island and did horrific, terrible shit. Okay? But unless we have a smoking gun, I'm not gonna say just like, first of all, I will say Donald Trump was a fucking dirty pervert for lots of reasons. One of the biggest reasons were all the complaints that people had, all the complaints 9-year-old girls had about him when he would be doing those beauty pageants and he would just be walking into their rooms. It didn't matter what state of dress or undress they were in, he walked in. That's dirty pervert shit, okay? Again, I got Lucille. If you're a grown-ass man and you walk into a 9-year-old's dressing room without knocking and without waiting to be allowed in, is that acceptable? Here are your choices. No, it's not acceptable, or here comes the pitch. Because if any word other than no comes out of your pie hole, I'm already swinging Lucille. If your answer starts with any letter other than N, I'm already swinging. Is that acceptable? No. Good. Well, you know, bam. It don't matter what the situation was, bitch. It's always wrong. It's always wrong. Because I ask dads, if a random man was in your house and walked into your daughter's room while he was changing, and the guy will be like, I'd fucking kill him. Cool. That's what the president did during these beauty pageants. Now, we know he's that. We know he's had sexual affairs on his spouses. We know he's not a good husband. We know he's not a great father. We know he defrauded the people of New York. We know that he's had 3 casinos that have gone bankrupt. We know that he's filed bankruptcy 3 other times. We know all those things. I don't need to throw random bullshit shots at him for hanging out with Epstein. I don't need to do that. Because why do I want to talk about stuff that we have to dig through fucking shit to find a clue? We found a clue. No, I don't want to do that. We already had enough to indict this man multiple times, and our whole system is fucking corrupt. Should they have charged him with 34 felonies? No. Should they have charged him and gone after him for civil fraud? No. Why? Where's the victim? Who was the victim in the civil fraud case? Did a bank go out of business? No, bank made a shit ton of money. Did anybody lose their job? No. Did the state lose any money? No. Then why are we doing this other than for political reasons? Now, my problem with it is that the civil appeal overturned the $355 million penalty. But they didn't turn around and sanction the state for saying, you shouldn't have ever gone after it like this. Trump University, fucking scam. Did they go after him for that? I think they did, but it didn't go anywhere. Did I put I did all the research. I don't think I put the dollar amounts in. Here's the other one, right? People are like, oh, Donald Trump's 34 felony count was overturned by the Supreme Court. No, it wasn't. This case hasn't even been heard by the Supreme Court. A narrow sliver of it was heard, but not the case. A related narrow sliver was heard, and the only thing the narrow sliver was heard about was, could sentencing be delayed until after his presidency? Trump isn't a convicted criminal until he's sentenced. The person who made that statement claims they work in law. No, you do not. Because in the law, you are sentenced when the jury renders a verdict, the judge accepts the verdict, and then the judge signs it and files it with the clerk of the court. And if people believe anything otherwise, they've been watching too much Law and Order. You're sentenced, or you're convicted at the moment the jury says, yeah, you fucking did it. Now, if the jury says, yeah, you did it, the judge can always throw that out. So the way it rolls is the jury sends in one of two options: guilty or not guilty. This is done. That is it. If the jury says not guilty, it is done. Criminally. The jury can send in guilty, not guilty, and the judge can either accept or set aside, and then you join this answer down here. If he accepts, then you go to sentencing. I weep for the fact that people don't understand the legal system in their own country. I weep for the fact that people don't understand shut the fuck up when talking to cops. Did you call the police officer? No? Okay. Don't talk to him. If a police officer had enough evidence to arrest you, he wouldn't be asking shit. He'd be arresting you. Hi, Mr. Jalan. Who's there? It's the police. Go away. We just want to talk. How many of you are there? There's 2 of us. Great, then talk to each other and fuck off. I don't want to talk to you. Go away. Why would I want to talk to you? Your neighbor says you two got in an argument this morning. Are you arresting me? No. Go away. Do they think they have a strong enough case to arrest you based on just your neighbor's testimony? No, because they're over there asking you questions. If they had enough, they'd... Yeah, we need you to step outside. You're under arrest. Good luck with that. Come back with a warrant. If we have to get a warrant, it's going to be worse. If you have to get a warrant, my lawyer's already met you at court. I've already called my lawyer. Yeah, apparently they're trying to get a warrant on me. Dude, I didn't do anything. I don't fucking know. That's what I pay you an obscene amount of money for. Go find out. So then the lawyer goes into court and he files a fucking motion that states if you're coming in, he actually files a notification with the prosecutor's office. So now the prosecutor's office is like, fuck. Because now when they go before the judge for the warrant hearing, they have to invite the lawyer. There has to be enough probable cause for the judge to issue the arrest warrant. Most people get arrested because they open their fucking mouths and they say, yeah, me and my neighbor had a fight. You're under arrest because you've just admitted to a crime because you used the word fight. Happens all the time in domestic violence. We got a call about domestic violence. Ain't nobody had no domestic violence here. Well, your neighbors reported a fight. Yeah, we had a fight, but it's all worked out now. Can you step outside, please? Because a fight, by common vernacular, indicates battery. Did you have a disagreement? Did you have an argument? Did you have a heated discussion? Well, yeah, that's what I meant. And your lawyer's like, you're a dumb fuck. Why'd you talk to the cops? If the cops are talking to you and you did not call them, shut the fuck up. Some of our politicians probably should learn this, but they don't. Let's see. RPG designer goes missing after crowdfunding award-winning game. Nice. That's gonna make a nice article. That's gonna be a nice article to work on. Let's see. Desktop. Show videos. Let's jam out to an oldie but a goodie.
The income tax is based on the assumption that the government owns everything and you get paid $10,000. That's not your money. You only can keep what the government gives you permission to keep.
So that's not what the income tax is. That's not the theory behind the income tax. The theory behind the income tax is that people want X number of services. If you didn't want any fucking services, you would have no taxes. And that's the piece that I don't think people are understanding. If you wanted no services, except the ones you directly want to pay for, you'd have no taxes. But you'd also have to realize that a lot of things would be ridiculously expensive because you would have to pay not just your fair share cost, but you would have to pay absolutely all of the cost that you're causing on the system. Like, you have a right to a trial by a jury of your peers. You have that right. But if you didn't know this, in some places, you have to give the court $600 for a jury trial because you have to pay for the jurors. And people don't understand that that is a cost that the state incurs. Because jurors get paid. People are like, but I have a right to it. Yeah, doesn't make it free. It means they can't tell you you can't have it. Now, what if I can't afford the $600 for a jury trial? Well, it depends. Do you have a court-appointed attorney? Yes. Then your jury fee is waived because you've already passed the bar threshold to prove you don't have the means to pay for an attorney. You certainly don't have the means to pay for your jury trial. Do you get the $600 back if you're found not guilty? No. Can you petition and apply to get it back? Yes. Is it an easy process? No. Why? Because they don't make anything easy. But they charge you $600. Often you'll get a more fair trial from a bench judge. No, you will never. That is a horrible fucking misnomer. You should never, ever, 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 ever take a bench trial unless the entire defense is predicated on the prosecution or the police making a mistake. Because remember, if you take a bench trial, it is no longer about reasonable doubt. It's about, it really becomes a matter of spell checking, proofreading, is everything admissible? You won't get a more fair trial from a bench judge. You get a different type of trial. Where you generally don't want to do this is because in a jury trial, the jury can render guilty, not guilty. But you can always petition the judge to set aside the verdict based on X, Y, or Z. You're not getting a more fair trial. You're getting a more technical trial. And you are right. The threshold becomes radically different. But one of the problems is, if there has been a lot of pre-trial motions and the defense has won them all, then the defense is more likely rather than less likely to want to take a bench trial, because now in front of the judge, you can argue each and every time the prosecution brought a motion and you defeated it. You may not do that in a jury trial. You may not bring in the pregame into a jury trial, but because it's now just the two lawyers and the judge, you can absolutely... Your Honor, there were 37 pretrial motions by the prosecution, and you ruled against them 37 times. Your Honor, you have already... we're going to have officer whoever come to the stand. Your Honor, you've already thrown out anything substantial. See, now what we're doing is the defense can go on offense because they don't have to let the prosecution put anybody on the stand. They can say, well, you've already thrown out everything relevant. We don't need to hear from this witness. And the judge is like, you're right. We don't need to hear from this witness. I already have the one fact that's relevant. How many times I've been called to a jury? 0 in the one time in the civilian world before I went to the military, 0 times after. Because I'm disabled. I can't serve on a jury. I have been on 3 court-martial panels and a number of procedural panels. Having sat in a lot of courtrooms during jury selection, having sat in a lot of courtrooms during trials when I was a pre-law student, having sat in a lot of courtrooms as recently as 2 years ago as a DV advocate, I will tell you that the entire American court system needs an enema. We need to get rid of the idea of vertical and horizontal overcharging so that people are more likely to take a plea deal. It's bullshit that our system is predicated on convictions. I don't want to know that you're a prosecutor with a 96% conviction rate as dumb fucks celebrate your 95% conviction rate. I don't think you should be allowed to campaign as a prosecutor and say what my conviction rate is. I think as a prosecutor, you should only be allowed to say 6% of the people that I've tried were found not guilty. And we've got this really, really, really fucked up thing about American society. We have a really fucked up thing. Innocent until proven guilty. Not guilty verdict. And then people will say, wasn't that he wasn't guilty, it's that they couldn't prove it. Bitch, if you're innocent until proven guilty and you were found not guilty, it means you're fucking innocent because you were never proven guilty. And we got to stop this fucking quibbling bullshit. If you didn't prove it, they're innocent. I've been called in 5 times, once for a multi-jurisdictional federal grand jury and the rest for minor stuff. Yeah, grand juries are great. And I love the idea of grand juries. I think we need to extend the grand jury thing. I think that there needs to be a panel that approves charging. I think every day a bunch of citizens should have to be in a room with a judge. And then when they file warrants, and they're like, we're filing a warrant for burglary. We're filing a warrant for breaking and entering. We're filing a warrant for possession of burglary tools. We're filing a warrant for possession of stolen property. The judge should look at the panel and say, thumbs up, thumbs down. Should they be allowed to charge on 4 different counts? And it's just a simple numerical majority. And honestly, if these people can't see each other, even better. You're just in a blacked out box and you hit thumbs up, thumbs down. So the prosecutor's like, I want to charge him with 4 different crimes. And 7 out of the 12 say thumbs down. The judge is like, I'm sorry, the people have spoken. You can only charge with the top count. You can admit all those other things as evidence if you can meet the thresholds for admitting them as evidence. But we're not going to allow you to charge a person for burglary and breaking and entering. We're not going to allow you to charge the person for burglary, breaking and entering, and possession of burglary tools. Now, if you want to charge them in 4 separate trials and try them 4 separate times, that you can do. Do you know how much faster and streamlined things would be if a panel of your peers had to approve how you got charged? Also, can we please, for the love of God, get back to the way the court system was designed? So we have murder 1, murder 2, homicide 1, homicide 2, reckless conduct leading to death. And then, of course, you got homicide, you got manslaughter. I'm just going murder 1, murder 2, homicide 1, homicide 2, reckless conduct, which led to death. We need to get out of the fucking theory that they charge you here, but the jury can return any of these lower counts. No. If you think I committed murder 1, premeditated murder, then you prove to the court that I committed premeditated murder. But if you can't prove I committed premeditated murder, then the jury cannot come back with, but we find the threshold was met for murder 2. No. Because you were allowed to introduce things at trial for murder 1 that you would not have been allowed to introduce if you were trying to charge me with murder 2. If you want to get me on murder 2, you charge me on murder 2. Period. Done. It's a fucking corrupt system. Yeah, the prosecutor did a shitty job, and we don't think the person did murder 1, but they did a good enough job to get murder 2. Either that, or change the entire process. Change the entire process and put the entire process on its head, where you don't charge them with murder 1 or murder 2. You go in and you tell the facts of the case. And then the jury decides what they committed. Well, the average jury isn't going to know that, yeah, you're right. The average jury isn't. Which is why the average jury shouldn't be allowed to say, well, we find on the lesser charge. It's bullshit. When we charge people with murder and unlawful discharge of a firearm. Well, no shit, I unlawfully discharged a firearm. I shot a motherfucker. Either charge me with murder or charge me with unlawful discharge of a weapon. But stop, because what happens is, what this is, it's called vertical overcharging. If you charge me with one thing becomes yes or no. You charge me with one thing, the jury is basically answering the question, yes, he did it, no, he didn't. You charge me with 7 things. It's no longer a yes or no. It's a probably did something. He probably did something. I'm not saying he committed murder, but it's a little odd that they charged him with 7 different crimes. It's like when you get pulled over and you were speeding and improper lane change and lane changing within stopping distance of another vehicle and failure to stop in a timely fashion when an officer with his lights was behind you and failure to have your driver's license and your insurance and your proof of registration. Like, come on, motherfucker, just charge me then. If I was speeding and I improper lane changed and I cut off a truck, then charge me with reckless driving. Charge me with the thing that best suits what I did. Yeah, and a burned out tail light. Like I said, always be polite. Be firm, but be polite. Cop pulled me over. I pulled off on the side of the road. Turned on the lights, rolled down all my windows. I have tinted windows, but I drive an SUV, so my back windows, my back passenger windows can be tinted. My third row seats can be tinted. I'm a fucking vampire. If I have to sleep in the back due to my eyes, I want to be able to sit in the dark. So I have really, really dark polarized glass. I always roll the back window down. I want the cop to know there's no guy in a back seat with a shotgun. Cop walked up. I have my license. We don't have to carry our registration. It's the sticker on our license plates. Cop walks up. I have my driver's license. I have my insurance card in my hand. Morning, officer. How you doing today? He's like, good. License, proof of insurance? Absolutely. Here you go. Showed it to him. He's like, gonna ask why I pulled you over? Not really. I mean, I don't think I was doing anything wrong, but if I did, you'll tell me. He hands me my stuff back. He's like, yeah, you got a burnt out taillight. Hey, appreciate that. I'll go get it fixed right away. And I did. I drove right to the mechanic's office, the mechanic shop that I used. And I said, hey guys, can I drop my car and walk to where I got to get to? I need the brake light fixed. And they said, yeah, we'll take care of it. Brake light's fixed. They show me it's fixed. I walk around the car. Everything's good. I take the receipt. I throw it in the glove box. About a month later, I'm driving. Same route I was taking before. Same cop pulls me over. Hey, what's up? What'd I do this time? He's like, you still have a burnt out brake light. May I reach into my glove box and show you something? He said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I reached into my glove box and I showed him. I said, the day you told me, I went and got it fixed. So obviously there's something else going on with my vehicle. He looked at it and he's like, well, no shit, you did go get it fixed. He's like, I recommend getting it fixed. I said, I'm on my way. So when I went to the mechanic's shop, I walked in. I was like, hey guys, what the fuck? And he's like, what's wrong with your car now? I said, the brake light. He's like, the other side? I said, no, the fucking side I came in here before. And he's like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, oh shit. But there was just something else wrong with it. So when it was in drive, the brake light wasn't working. I don't know what the fuck happened. I'm not a mechanic. They fixed it. The cop was just doing his job. What I didn't do is roll down the window and say to the cop, hey, fuck you, buddy. But back to Rand Paul.
The income tax is based on the assumption that the government owns everything.
The income tax is not based on the assumption that the government owns everything. The income tax is based on the assumption that you want the services that the government offers, and you don't want to ever be on the hook for $100,000. I thought that's how you're supposed to speak with police. Yes, politely. Politely. Afternoon, officer. Morning, officer. But when he asks me the question, you gonna ask why I pulled you over? Nope. Because you're gonna tell me. People that... It amazes me. People get pulled over. I wasn't speeding. Well... You must have thought that, because it's the first fucking words. Yeah, don't yell fuck you at every opportunity. I mean, just so people know, the cop can make the traffic stop last an awful long time. Cop can, if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to jump in on other people talking. He has to run you, right? He has to run you. He has to call that into dispatch. If other people are having a conversation, he doesn't break in. If he's going about his day normally, yeah, break 65, speed run. Yeah, you're about as smart as driving by a cop car and flipping them off. While flipping a cop off is perfectly legal.
The income taxes.
What else we got? We'll go George Carlin.
There is no national conspiracy to buy elections and control America. But
You don't need a formal conspiracy.
Right.
When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and
Please.
fraternities. They're on the
It's
same
very
boards of
simple.
directors. They're on the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them.
It's a
and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice.
The illusion of choice. I like George Carlin. God rest his soul. I'm doing his work because he can't do it. The problem is everybody wants to say, well, there's no formal conspiracy. You're right. Because these are all fucking lawyers. These are all fucking lawyers. They're all lawyers. They all know how to walk up to the toes. Yeah, and not just about oil companies. They don't have to conspire to act in concert by shared interests. Airlines can do the same thing. Airlines can do the exact same thing. Airline A runs from here to there, and they charge $6.50 a flight. Airline B finds out that there's customers that need to go that route. So Airline B comes in and they start going to the same place at $900 a flight. Was there a conspiracy there? No. Airline B saw that there's enough passengers that need to get from St. Louis to Orlando, but the primary airline that runs that route can't service them all. So they add on enough flights at different times to become a competitor. So this airline says, well, what the fuck? We're going to bump our flight up to $750. Well, this airline says, okay, well, if you bump to $750, we'll go to $1050. Nobody sat down and said, you know what we're going to do today is we're going to do price fixing. They didn't do that. Should the first airline have added on more flights at $650 when the other airline came in? Yeah, they should have protected their market share. But as soon as they saw another airline come in, as long as that other airline doesn't come in and go cheaper than them, then the first airline says, well, let's see how it plays out. And so now that airline's like, oh, well, it played out that we can bump our rate a little bit. Nobody has, like, yes, there are times and places where there is like a coordinated effort to fuck over the American people. And I'm not denying that there are opportunities where there are coordinated efforts, but not every single thing is a coordinated effort. Not every single thing takes a conspiracy. Yeah, that's supply and demand. And people are like, oh, well, they conspired to do it. No, they followed basic Adam Smith Wealth of Nations economic principles. There were 600 more passengers a day that expressed interest in going from St. Louis to Orlando. And if those 600 passengers make that trip, it by default creates a pull that there's 600 passengers that are expecting to get home. Why do I fly down to Orlando at 6:30 in the morning? so that I can get an extra park day out of the day. I fly down at 6:30. The flight takes off at 7. I'm there by 9:30 their time. I'm at the hotel by 10:30, it's like 10 o'clock their time. I eat where I like to eat, and then I enter the parks. There's a reason I do what I do. When I fly down to Disney, I don't fly down ass early in the morning because I don't do Disney on a day that I travel. We often run into things that look like people conspiring against us when it actually turns out they were unrelated asshats. Right, exactly. We don't think, we react. Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice, which is adequately explained by stupidity. But everybody thinks everybody is out to fuck them over. That is the default setting. Fuck them over before they fuck me over. Well, I'm sorry. That creates a shitty world. It's just like there is a couple of religious TikTokers that I follow. But the one thing I've decided that my realm is politics. And I won't make religious TikToks. I'm only going to talk about one thing that'll alienate people, not two. But when people talk about religion, unless you're the fucking Pope of the Catholic Church, nothing you say binds any other Catholic or Christian to anything. If you're Catholic, the Pope makes decisions, you're bound by them. Period. If you're any other flavor of Christian, if you're at a church and you don't like the way that they're doing it, guess what? Go to a different church. You have to go to church. Says who? The commandment. Really? That's what it says? Because I don't think that's what it says. And people will be like, yeah, it says you have to you have to go to church. Catholics have to go to church. And remember, nobody in any other religion has the authority to tell you anything about your religion. I'm sorry, in the Abrahamic religions. Let me not venture out of my pool. The only person in all of the Abrahamic religions that has the authority to dictate anything is the Pope. And that's it. But you have to go to church on Sunday. Really? Why? The third commandment. What's it say? Does it say you have to go to church? No, it says remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Well, I'm confused. Well, which is the Lord's day? Jews gave him Friday. Muslims gave him Saturday. Christians gave him Sunday. God has a 3-day weekend. I'm so tired of everybody weaponizing every view because they think I have to respect their point of view. You don't have to respect I have to respect the Pope's point of view. It is a flaw in Catholicism. It is a flaw in Catholicism. That doesn't mean I have to stay a Catholic. And there was a long period of time that I disagreed with the Catholic Church to a point where I began my own study and I came to the conclusion that there are a lot of people that don't want to be legitimate. Like one of the people that I like is the Purple Puppet guy on the Purple Puppet guy on TikTok. But the other day I was going to make a response video and I said, nope, you're staying out of religion. He said that Halloween didn't begin as a pagan holiday. Bullshit. Yes, it did. His argument was that Halloween was All Hallows Eve. That is true. But the reason why All Hallows Eve is celebrated on October 31st was because of Samhain, which is the pagans. And it's their day where they go from the summer months to the winter months. It's when they move from Beltane to Samhain, and they have a big fucking sexual orgy to put it specifically. And the Catholics were like, we gotta put a stop to that shit. We gotta put a stop to all of that. So what they did is they slowly, no, different purple puppet guy. Different purple puppet guy. One of them is a comedian, one of them is a religious theologian, as opposed to a capitalistic theologian, which is a thing, by the way. You can have a capitalistic theology. But I didn't want to like get into an argument with him, because guess what? He believes what he believes, and I believe what I believe, and him believing it doesn't hurt me, and what I believe apparently hurts him because he feels the need to make a counterfactual to it, and unfortunately he's wrong. But at the end of the day, he's doing good work, so I don't need to make a response video, because for Christians, he's right. For pagans, he's wrong. And there's not too many of us that are half pagan, half Catholic. It's a little weird, but it's okay. The recent case for price fixing was rental properties. And it was a piece of software that allowed them to deny price fixing. So let me address that. There is no price fixing in rental properties. And anybody who makes an argument about price fixing in rental properties is trying to make an argument because they want to make an argument. What they're doing is they're seeing this and they're spending 1% of the time here, and then their solution is to force price fixing as what the problem really is, but their solution doesn't factor into account standard economics. What do I mean by that? As I said, crazy lady in the neighborhood is paying $3,000 a month on a rental. That's fucking dumb. That's fucking dumb. If nobody, like, the house is worth $300,000. So she's trying to get, the landlord is getting 1% out. It's ridiculous. Because the mortgage on that property is nowhere near $3,000 a month. So if I just do, let me just knock out the cost real quick. So I'm gonna throw a three. Is this the calculator I use? No. There's the calculator I use. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a $300,000 house into the mortgage calc, not 3 million, son. And I'm gonna put down no down payment because I'm landlord financing. 30-year term, 6.6. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw in property taxes per month. I'll do $500 a month in property taxes. Homeowner's insurance a month. I'm gonna actually do that as the landlord's homeowner's insurance, not the rental insurance. The PMI per month, I'll put down as 200, and the homeowners association fees I'll put down as $15 a month because he has to pay them. Right, but here's the thing: I don't give a shit about any of that, because having a piece of software, or having this or having that, a piece of software just makes it easier for the people to do what they did. It doesn't mean that the underlying source is true. Once again, somebody could say, well, you used Google Sheets and Google Sheets was indicated in a conspiracy. Okay, but what happens if I didn't use Google Sheets and I used Excel? What happens if I used pen and paper? That's what I'm trying to say. A piece of software is, people are going to say this, people are going to say that, people are going to say a bunch of other fucking things, but it doesn't matter. Because legitimately doesn't matter. So let me do this, and then let me show you guys what I'm looking at. Oh, Opera websites. I'm like, where the fuck is it? Okay, so the landlord completely financing his property with no profit, right, is paying $2,788. And he's charging $3,000 for the piece of property. But there's a huge piece right here. Because the landlord didn't put 20% down, the landlord has to pay PMI on the mortgage that he holds in order to have the piece of property. And so he's charging $3,000 a month. So there's a little extra. There's not a lot here. There's only a little something extra. Okay. Well, what if we changed mortgage financing so that only owner-occupied properties could be purchased without 20% down? So now we put 20% down because he has no choice, because it's a commercial property. And now we take off the PMI. And look at what the landlord's new minimum is. That dropped it significantly. It went from $27.88 to, if the landlord is forced to treat it like a property, that's $500. The problem isn't rent fixing. The problem's not rent fixing, because I just showed you the landlord has to charge $3,000 for the property because that he has to pay for the property. This right here isn't price fixing. There's no price fixing at all here. So the landlord is charging $3,000, but that's his cost, because we didn't write laws about renting single family homes. We wrote guidelines. If the landlord was forced to put 20% down, then the market wouldn't bear him charging $3,000. If the landlord, if it was known that we always end up in real estate. If somebody asks a question, if it's known that the landlord is only being charged about $2,200 a month in mortgage, then he's not going to be able to justify that. Now, what if we do one other simple thing? What if we get mortgages out of 6.6% hell? What if we get the interest rate down to 4%? Now, the landlord is going to be hard pressed to charge more than $2,000 a month. So all I've done is made two small changes. I haven't had to radically change the system. I haven't had to pass 80,000 pages of law. No FDIC insured bank may give a mortgage on a non-owner occupied property unless the signer of the mortgage pays 20% down. I've just reduced the rent by $1,000 with one policy change. And then, of course, getting interest rates down. What people don't understand is that there's no price fixing. For the last 5 years, mortgage rates have sucked. Now, some people are going to say, Greystar has agreed to settle the case without admitting wrongdoing and to stop sharing sensitive data with rival companies. Right. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they've agreed to settle it? Oh no, it's a whopping $1.35 million settlement. Oh no. Oh no. Because they admit to no fault. They pay $1.35 million to the government and they can't be sued by the tens of thousands of people. The government, if the government was sure that what they did impacted the Americans, the government should be out there with a pitchfork going right up there John Brown to get all the money back and then fix this. The official Ash's Twitch account is in Pirate Software's chat, just slobbering all over his knob. The fucking Ashes of Creation community is so fucking gone that if Steven was standing on the roof pissing on him, they'd be drinking it and saying thanks for the lemonade. You can't help those people anymore. Is that the company that uses the algorithm to figure out the rent? Yeah, what they do is, so let me, and I can show you this as a former landlord, right? I'll do it manually because it's not hard to do this. Okay. Oh, they've made it a little bit harder to do this. Okay, so we look right here. And I have an apartment. Well, that's 2,000, right? That's 1,700. That's 2,800. All I have to do is look at websites. If I'm in this area, all I have to do is say, oh, well, that's 3,500. 3,500 a fucking month to live in this neighborhood? What the fuck? To live near Garfield Park? The fuck is wrong with you? But here's the problem. People want to live in that area. They won't jump on a fucking train for 45 minutes and live out in Mokina or Orland Park or the one that's next, and I don't know what's built out past them. People don't want to get on a train for 45 minutes. Why? If you can drive if you can ride the train and walk to work, if it's less than 12 blocks, get your walk on in the morning. People are like, oh, I got to live in the city. No, you don't have to live in the city. If you can afford $3,500 a month in rent, why the fuck is it you can't get a mortgage then? I showed you guys there are hundreds of houses for less than $100,000. Well, I don't want to fucking work and remodel it. Well, if you can afford 30, here, let me just throw the real fucking world numbers down. If you're paying $3,500 a month in rent times 12 months, that's $42,000 times 3. You're going to spend $126,000 in rent over the next 3 years. Right? If you can buy a house for $75,000, you can get a loan for $50,000 to renovate it. Let me tell you this, if the house only costs $75,000, unless you're trying to be like fucking bougie with granite and whatever, you don't need more than $50,000 to renovate a $75,000 house unless it has structural damage. And by structural damage, I mean foundational damage. Can I recommend a good realtor that works with VA loans? Every realtor works with VA loans. Every realtor works with VA loans. Why? Because there's no fucking about with VA loans. There's no negotiating. There's no pissing around. There's no... Yeah, but once I talk to one, I get flooded with calls and emails. Then... Wait. If you had to put 50K in a $75,000 house, you're just better off passing. Not necessarily. And I reject that categorically because there's a lot of houses. $75,000 means you should have put $7,500 into it every year. And people are like, well, I don't always have to do that. You're right. But 10% of the building cost is what your building maintenance should cost. Well, $50,000 in a $75,000 house, that could easily be you need the house rewired and replumbed, a new furnace and a new air conditioner. That's not terrible. New tile, new backsplash, new fucking counters, new oven, new appliances. If the building is structurally sound, but you're gutting the inside. I found $75,000 houses on a block of $200,000 houses because nobody's maintained them. And a lot of what people say, oh, you might need a new roof because there's no water damage. You just need a new roof. Well, that's $8,000 to $15,000 right there. But any house, I bought a house in Ohio. I was there less than 3 years. Son of a bitchin' thing needed a roof. Now, chill. You say once you talk to one, you get flooded with calls and emails. When you talk to one or when you put your information in a website that you didn't realize that their footer says we sell your information. Because I've never gotten my information sold when I talk to a realtor because I walk in, you put in your info, there you go. All those things that Papa J says don't ever fucking ever put your information in a website unless you want 900 calls, because the website is not about getting you the help you need. The website has a little footer that says, we sell your information. And then you're going to be like, I never gave you permission. They're going to be like, yeah, you actually did. Because you put our info. If you need to find a realtor in your local area, call a realtor's office. Coldwell Banker, Remax, Berkshire Hathaway. I like those companies. Oh yeah, people call me all the time. I have a game, and then I gotta go because my voice is raw, and I got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have a game that I play with telemarketers. The game I play with telemarketers is how long can I keep you on the phone, and can I get you to cuss at me? I had one on the phone last night. Oh, he was pissed. He was pissed. I read him my VIN number on my car like 8 different times and just fucked with the numbers. All I did was ask ChatGPT to generate me a random VIN for a hypothetical situation, and it did. And then I just kept inverting shit, and he figured it out after about 10 minutes. He's like, you expletive, you're just fucking with me. And I said, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm fucking with you. I'm waiting to go to dinner. You're good entertainment. Anyway, great show as always. As I've been saying, I've got all sorts of good stuff. The thing I'm proud of, I'm so proud of this. Only if you spell current right. It now works. I'm not using anybody's third-party service for that. I'm not using anybody's third-party service. I made this myself. I made this. I'm very happy about that. There's a lot of little things I want to work on. This is a great channel. It is. I appreciate that. I did put out a politics article today. If you're new to the show, you didn't build this. I did too build this. If you're new to the show, I don't try. I now have a schedule where I put out a politics article every Tuesday. How much did ChatGPT help? ChatGPT helped me with one thing, because the only thing I was struggling with was, and I don't remember what it is, but you have to get the token, and I was getting that wrong, and then you have to create the little bit of line of code, and you have to grab it within 10 minutes. So that's the only thing ChatGPT helped me with. I said, ChatGPT, if I give you these 3 things, Once I have the long code, if I paste the long code and 2 other pieces of information in, can you generate me this thing so that I can get my coupon for my bot? And ChatGPT was like, yes. So I could have cut and pasted it in, but I took the piece. Yeah, it's API stuff. I took the piece. I got the really long code. I'd already pre-put the 2 other pieces of information, put the really long code in, hit enter, ChatGPT kicked it out, and then I had to go to another website. That's the only thing I use ChatGPT for this time. Now, sometimes I use ChatGPT, other times I spend the day teaching myself. Could I redo it today? Probably not, because I don't have all my notes in my mindset. It works, that's all I need to know. All about mental exercises. Anyway, Monday is a content creation article. Tuesday is a politics article. Wednesday is a once human article. Thursday is a video game article. That's not right. Friday is a video game article. So I'm writing 4 articles a week, which is why I got to get out of here, because I got to go write an article. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another politics show, which puts us back on schedule. This one will be prepped with all the response videos. See you then.
I wonder if the organic meat sack that runs this channel knows a lot of these sponsors don't sponsor us anymore.
They were longtime sponsors. The credits are fine.
Do we get paid? Is any of this sponsorship money for Gail, Daisy, the Chaos Fund?
You are a figment of Jalan's imagination. I don't think you will be